Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Gaming Circle Podcast. Good morning to all the folks in the chat that I'm seeing right now. If we're having any technical issues, if you're not hearing us well, if there's echoes, anything like that, please let us know. If you can hear us, mic check, mic check. I am, of course, your host, Mr. K. Asante. I am cameraless this week. Ridiculous. Already this morning. But that's because it's just one of those weeks.
Yes, the rapper Cameron has not joined us today.
Exactly. We are
camless.
Yes, we are camless. That's right. We are both camless. Absolutely. So let me just, first and foremost, of course, welcome my man, the Mr. Everborn Saga, the man on these Twitter streets that is literally just taking no names at this point. He's watching he's watching the bodies drop from our former heroes, it seems, and we'll get a bit into that. We'll get a little bit into that. How you doing this morning, sir?
I am actually taking names and notes because there's a lot of fraudulent behavior going on, but I guess we will discuss that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been a very interesting week in these old gaming streets.
Happening.
Yeah, man. It's a little wild out there. And today will be a bit more of a concise show. First and foremost, let me say it right from the top. We got some late news that some life things happened, and Lord Addict will not be joining us this week. Salute to him, of course, on this show. We are very much in that life comes first. We can always reschedule, not a problem. So, shout out to Lord Addict. I'm sure we'll have him back on the show soon enough. But yes, it will be myself and Everborn Saga this weekend, the dynamic duo, if you will, ladies and gentlemen. So we're gonna keep the show rolling, as it were. Everborn, tell me some things that have been happening to you this week on them Twitter streets. What do you want to discuss real quick before we get into the games?
Nothing's happening to me. I've been just kind of sitting back and watching some of the shenanigans and the sky is falling from people who were like gun-ho in the Twitter streets fighting what they thought was the good fight just a month ago. What a difference a week can make. That being said, I am playing a lot of good games right now, so I suppose we're gonna get to talk about that.
And wonderfully enough,
we can't talk about this, but you and I are both playing a game that is not out on the market yet, but we can't talk about it.
Sir, we will not talk about it. Otherwise, it'll bring me to tears. Let's
okay. Well, let's just say this: we'll discuss it on Friday.
Sure, we will. Absolutely, we will definitely discuss it on Friday. Yes, absolutely. Yes. We don't want them
but I will say this though.
Uh-huh.
I think that they can.
Oh boy.
they can go ahead and cancel the Game Awards this year. But that's it. Let's go. Let's
Stop. You know what? Mr. Joanna Dark is going to come for us. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. So, okay, before we even get started with all the news and the games and all that proper, not to be outdone, we have Mr. Gerald Mack early in here with a $5 super chat saying, shout out to the Gaming Circle podcast. All hail the ILP. Salute to Lord Addict. And I will pass on his message, sir. Unfortunately, he cannot be with us this week, but of course, we will reschedule with him. You know, life happens. It is one of those situations, but we appreciate you being here. Salute to you, good sir, always being here, always supporting. So, okay. So we were talking about some games we've been playing. So let's go back to some games we've been playing. Folks can see on the screen right now, I'm still showing you some Jedi Survivor footage because, yeah, we'll get into Redfall. But let's start with you, Mr. Everborn Saga. What games have you been playing this week? Start us off.
Well, we can start off with Jedi Survivor, which I did my whole run through of Fallen Order on journalist mode, on easy mode. I played the second half of that game on student just so that I could play this game, and I got to Jedi Survivor, and I keep hearing people talk about bugs, but none of those bugs have been game breaking. So like there's some issues here and there on how it cuts back from live gameplay to a cutscene, but I haven't experienced anything in the game yet that was like, this is completely broken. Now, I do have a little bit of gripes with the dual saber.
Okay.
I feel like it moves a little bit too fast, but other than that, I love all the additions that they've added to it. Like now there's a grapple mechanic because, you know, that's all the rave these days.
Oh yeah.
But it makes so much sense in the way they do things. I do want to say, I do not think they fixed the map. I think the map is still stupid.
It's better, but it's not great. I do agree with you. It's still not great.
All the different, like, I just, at that point, I feel like you just maybe shouldn't even have a map because I look at the map and I always get more confused.
Yeah.
So if the goal is like, it's about platforming, it's about Metroidvania, just let me explore for all of that, or do like a 2D map, because what they're doing with the zooming in and out and the path, and then this is yellow, like there's a mini game just to understand the map. And that is
yeah, like I said, it's better because let's be real here. Anything was better than the last iteration of the map. Now
like,
you can actually kind of see where you're going.
Notes? You gotta have cliff notes just to understand what each thing means on the map. Like what's a door, what's a blocked path, what's the golden path, things like that.
So the colors that they put, they try to use for the block things doesn't really make sense sometimes. Yeah.
I always found myself coming away more confused when I opened the map. So I just kind of run through it. And I'm on the second world now. I did the first mission. And then because some other games came out that we're going to talk about, I didn't get further than the second world that you enter. But all that,
salute to the man Pixelbit G. He's in here. He says, I very much got lost with that damn map. So
yeah, man.
So
all right.
You're not
so
the
now
only
here's
one.
the question. For everyone playing this game, are you a single blade, most powerful strikes? Are you a dual blade, very fast, very defensive? Or are you a double blade? Or sorry, dual blades is two hands. Double blade is the staff. Which one do you guys go for? What do you prefer? What's your go-to?
I'll tell you, I'm the dual blade. I'm
the staff.
Yes, I'm the
or
staff.
The two. Okay, wait, hold on. Because there's a difference between double blade and dual blade.
Yes, I know.
So
I'm the staff.
Double blade is the staff.
Yes.
Dual blade is
two different blades in your hands. No, I'm the staff.
Okay, but hold on.
And I tend to be situational though with it sometimes. As a Pixel is saying, like sometimes depending on the type of enemy you're facing or how many enemies on screen, you might want to the staff it because that's good for crowd control. Whereas other times you want to be, strategic in your approach. Then you'll either single blade or dual blade it. That's how I've been playing it so far.
I'm hearing there's now a gun in this. I did not know that.
Yeah, there are more stances that we have to unlock.
No. But people are saying that they're carrying a blaster.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
my
you didn't
point.
have a gun in the first one.
That's my point. When you get to a certain level, you unlock a stance that gives you a blade and blaster and at the same time. But they're considered
interesting.
stances. Yeah.
Okay, I gotta try that because you can only pick 2 at a time.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are the 2 that everyone's going with?
Yeah, and have you? I don't know how far into it you've been. Have you gotten to a point where you can get one of the stances where there's it's almost like what do you call it? I forget the name of the Sith, and it being the fifth and all that. That carried it, but basically it's almost like a broadsword, a long sword, but lightsaber.
Oh, 2-handed?
Yes, you get to a point where you get that as well. Yeah.
I'm not that far into it.
Yeah.
But again, that is because other things came out. So I'm saying all this to say, like, people get caught up on and we talked about this a little bit last week, but so many people get caught up on the speeds and feeds of things, and they let kind of Digital Foundry say, well, this is performing this way, this is performing that way. For me, I just really got to go by, like, how do I feel playing the game? What's the story they're trying to tell me? And so I do not care about any of the performance issues. And I hear people saying, oh, it's unplayable because of this, and why we're not talking about that.
So what you're saying is the performance issues have not plagued you to the point where it's ruined your gaming experience. Is that the case?
Yes, and I'm not saying they don't exist.
Okay.
I'm just saying there's nothing there that has been game breaking.
Sure.
Take me out of the experience.
Because sometimes you're the one that comes to us and rightly so says that we need to keep it a buck, keep it honest, because just because we're not experiencing it doesn't mean others may not be. So if that's the case,
absolutely.
I feel you on that.
Listen, I'm a software engineer by day. Product comes to me and says, "What's this issue?" And I just say, "It's not happening on my machine."
Exactly.
It's not happening in dev.
We ain't gonna be those people that say, "Oh, it's not happening to us, so it doesn't happen." It's probably happening somewhere. It's just not happening here right now, and lucky for us.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing. I think the reviews reflect that. I think the reviews for the game reflect that, by and large, because of everything else that's going on.
I don't know. Okay. Let's bring the chat in on this one, and I'll give you my thoughts on it because I've played extensively.
Well, okay. While you do that, tell me what the meta is on this game.
All right. So let me find the meta for it real quick. But I want the chat to weigh in on this one, right? Because I've spoken to some people in our community who are very much feeling the Star Wars game. They enjoy the Star Wars franchise. Obviously, they want Jedi Survivor to be their game that they're playing day in, day out, but they're saying that bugs are really, really ruining their experience.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I always question people who are like, "Oh, this game drops 10 frames every now and again. I can't deal with it." I'm like, shut up.
So
you don't really care about that.
So right now it is at 79 meta on, and this is the PlayStation review version. PlayStation.
All right, what about
4?
Xbox and PC?
Hold on, let's do the. All right, so it's only been really reviewed on PS4. Oddly enough, that's no. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the old version. Jedi.
You're looking at Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah. I saw that.
Look at you.
Why only PS5?
Look at you.
Look at me, he says. Let me look at that one real quick. All right, so Jedi Survivor. Here we go. Okay, so on the Xbox, 85, right? That's on
and
Xbox.
I think that's well deserved.
And on the PlayStation, it is 86. And
okay, question: how many people reviewed on PlayStation?
I know. I was about to go there.
On Xbox?
PlayStation was reviewed by 99 critics, and on Xbox it was reviewed
Xbox
by
12.
10 critics.
See, I was joking when I said 12. This is what I mean. This is what I'm talking about. We know where the media prefers to play, and I don't care what anybody says.
Yep, absolutely.
The numbers do not lie. And you can come here and try to say, well, actually shut up.
He's really in that mood this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. All right.
Anyway, that being said, I think it's a fantastic game. And the only reason I haven't gone further is because of the other games that we're getting ready to talk about. But I cannot wait. This is going to be the game that well, no, it's not because of you know what, but we can talk about that. But again, this game it's on hold for now, but it's not its fault. I cannot wait to get back to it. I love what they're doing so far. I love all the additions they add. I think people are FOS when they talk about, oh, it's so bad technically and all that. Like, do not lump Jedi Survivor in with Redfall. And I see a lot of people trying to do that whataboutism.
Let me be real with you.
And it's not going to work over here.
Let me be real with you real quick, okay? So first and foremost, we have Mr. Joanna Dark in here saying, I will play Jedi Survivor when it rings above 60 frames per second. Let's keep it a buck, okay?
Oh, God. Here come the PC people that can't see past the benchmarks. But
there we go. No. Although I have not had any issues with the game, I have not, right? But as much overhead as my PC has now, I can still see frame drops and whatnot. That tells me people who don't have the machine I have will be experiencing some issues. Like, I see people in the chat right now saying, bro, the game is buggy. Like, not everybody's experiencing it the way you are, man. You know? And just because we may be in a privileged position where whatever we're using is, you know, showing the best of it, doesn't mean that we can't, you know, understand other issues, other people, and the fact that they may be having problems there in that respect, right? You know, it can't be one of those, oh, shut up because mine plays fine situations. Come on now.
Hold on. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying shut up because it's not that bad.
Well, but that's the thing. Again, it may be not that bad on your rig. It may be not that bad on your PC.
I'm not saying on my rig. I'm saying the things that I hear people complaining about, right? I think that they're FOS. That's what I think.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's switch up. Let's switch up.
People are over dramatizing the Jedi Survivor situation. That's not to say they don't have things to fix, but I think the reviews reflect that when you look at the total package, the technical issues are one thing that need to be addressed, but it is not the end all be all.
Well, to also be fair though, you're playing a game that has had a patch or two already applied. The first day was bad. Like, I played first day, it was bad.
But then why are people still saying this stuff?
Well, because there are still issues. It's not as bad as it was, but there are still issues. But no, continue. Go ahead.
The game came out like a week ago, but sure.
Yeah, sure. But just like what do you call it? Just like The Last of Us, people like took the initial jump of, oh my God, Joel has blackface, and they took it to the hilt, even though that thing was patched out to like less than 24 hours after that game came out. There was no blackface, there was no T-posing, there was none of that. But people took that meme and ran with it. So what's the difference here?
Sure. Anyway. Long story short, you PC people, because I feel like those are most of the people complaining about it.
Yes, sir.
You guys are the ones who are trying to gaslight everybody into thinking the game's a dumpster fire. And it's not.
I have not heard PC people talk about it being a dumpster fire. Actually, most people, PC people I hear talk about it saying, hey, if my PC wasn't what it is, it might not run right.
So right? These are people who are not actually having problems, but still concerned.
I've actually heard more.
Anyway, the point is this.
Listen. I have heard Mr. Boomstick Excel choose Redfall over Jedi Survivor because his experience on Redfall is better technically and bug-wise than it has been on Jedi Survivor, and he's playing that on Series X. So
Boom and I are gonna have to have a discussion about that.
You know what I mean? And I'm not thinking that Boom is doing that for effect. I think if he says so, he says so. It is what it is. So hey, I can't be Mr. PCMR as they say and go, oh, it's great on my rig. I have to understand that maybe my brother's not having the best experience. Okay. It is what it is, right?
All I am getting at is I'm not saying people aren't having issues. I'm saying they're making mountains out of molehills.
Out of molehills. Okay, well you tell Boom that. Okay. Let's switch on. Let's switch to another game we've been playing.
Anyway,
what else have you been playing? Go on.
So we're gonna come to Redfall. Redfall is the thing that stopped me from playing this, but there's another game that I want to take a minute to wax poetically about.
Okay.
And that is Ravenlock.
Okay, yes. Let's talk about Ravenlock.
You want to talk about amazing art direction. You want to talk about now
almost claymation, if you will.
Yeah. No, but if you just look at the way the grass moves in that, like it's like, wow, you look at the foliage, you look at the So all that's great. And they're basically doing a play on Alice in Wonderland.
Yep.
Now, one thing I will say about the game is that there's no voiceover at all, so you have to read everything. But again, this is from a small team.
Yep.
But the gripe that I have with the game is that I really wish they'd spent more time focusing on the combat.
Sure.
Because you have a sword and shield, and it's really like you can kind of spam the attack button and kind of get through everything that it has thrown at me so far. And I just feel like you have something here where if you just had some, feedback with your attacks, meaning your attacks had weight, like you hit a shield and you bounce back. You can't just throw the button and it like there's something to be desired in the combat, and I wish they had just spent a little bit more time on that, but really enjoying the game. Like,
so can I admit my fraudulent behavior for a minute, specifically to Ravenlock?
Okay.
So since this game has released, I've heard such glowing reviews from so many sources. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this thing out. I install it on the PC, install it on the Xbox. I have sat down in front of my PC, and as you say, it's a game with no voiceover. You have to read everything, and I've had a very busy week. I'll be honest with you. I've had a very busy, very trying week. My children were sick, weren't feeling well, so long nights and all of that, right? So whenever I get a chance to, I want to relax with the game, but the game has to keep my attention. Ravenlock, I've tried it twice now, and people clown me by saying that what do they call it? Forbidden West is the video game equivalent of NyQuil. I have to say Ravenlock has been the video game equivalent of NyQuil for me. It's got this melodic flow to it. The melodies are so very, very, very melodic in their tones.
Grass and the trees blowing,
and you're blowing, and then guess what? Guess what?
Okay.
I have fallen asleep twice to this game.
See, did you get your sword yet? Because I feel like you're just on the farm.
I've gotten my sword. I've gotten my shield.
Did you go and do your first mission in the purple place fighting the mushrooms?
I've got I on the way. Nelson Rivera says, "Boo this man."
Absolutely.
I apologize.
Absolutely.
I'm here. We are a safe space. I can come here and I can put myself on the body of the court, and you guys are supposed to have my back up in it. It looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I've been trying to play
I just don't understand how you just did like 400 hours in Forbidden West, and you can't and that.
See, the difference is though. He says, forget it. The difference is Forbidden West, for all its flaws, as y'all are saying, the moment to moment. Right, you're not falling asleep because then there's a robotic turtle about to bop you upside your head. You have to keep your wits about you.
I just think you don't like to read. That's what I think.
Oh, stop it! I enjoy reading quite heavily, actually, but I don't like to read. I don't like to like. This is a game where
Asante says I was elected to lead, not to read.
Yes, absolutely. No. It's the combination of. It's been a long week. I'm tired. The flow, the melodies in the background are just so. They're just so tranquil that you just end up falling asleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, here we go. Of course, here's Mr. Joanna Dark in here. Here we go. I knew he would not let that one sit. He's in here with a $2 super chat saying, "I boot up Horizon Forbidden West last night and passed out quick." Thank you. He's the one that him and Slomo are trying to coin the term gaming NyQuil every time I talk about Horizon Forbidden West. Anyway, look, I won't deny it. The game is beautiful.
Some words for Slomo too. I'm waiting for him to get in the chat. I was talking to him in the DM. I didn't bring this up, but when Slomo gets here, I want to talk about his video.
Okay, understood.
That he did after the Phil interview, but we'll talk about that. So again, Ravenlock. Again, I think that my biggest gripe again is just the combat. Simple combat work. It's not. It's like just try it. Get the sword and just keep pressing
shallow combat, button. Not simple. It's shallow.
Yeah. And the world that they built and the art style, like it gives you the expectation that there could be more.
It could have been more
for combat. And so and you know they could do it, right? Because look at again, and we keep coming back to Death's Door, but like these are things that these are things that could have been done. It's a weird decision the way they decided to go about the combat. But again,
no, I hear you.
It is great. And then, there's the big elephant in the room, which I think is what most of today's show is going to be about, which is Redfall. Slomo, I see you here. So now I can say it.
Here we go.
I watched your hashtag Fire Phil video.
Oh, boy.
And I disagree. I'd like to have some words. And
Okay.
if you want to come on to discuss it,
so that
it's not a one-way conversation, I'd love to have that conversation.
You are welcome to jump on. Let me know, and I'll pass you the invite in the DMs. You are more than welcome. I'll pass that on to you, and you can join us for this discussion. Because I'll be honest, I did catch.
He did a sports analogy and everything.
I
about
did
how
catch
Phil's
the
not the guy
Phil
to go
interview.
to the promised land like he's Moses.
I did catch the Phil interview, but I did not catch Slomo's video on it. Forgive me. I haven't had the opportunity. Okay. Yeah, he says he'll let us know when he's ready. All right, understood. I haven't had the opportunity, and I definitely will. But okay. So that will be an interesting conversation. You know what, everyone? I think let's get to the Redfall of it all. Okay, let's start talking about that.
The watercolors. Should we start talking in flip book form?
Stop.
Or is that we're not doing that? Okay,
so we're gonna get into it properly, but I will honestly say. So let's start this conversation because we're still in the games we've been playing it because that's where we are, and it turned into big news, right? Oh, and I see the man Boxenberger's in here. Good morning, sir. Well, actually, good afternoon. Good afternoon, I should say. We're in your neck of the woods. I appreciate you for joining us here. So yes, this game. So first and foremost, here's where I come to it on. Okay, so obviously Xbox first party. They bought the studio, they bought the publisher, so we're looking forward to it. We're all excited about it. We're waiting for it to show. At the time, before you
start this, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, please.
I see that there are 101 people watching the show.
Oh,
fantastic!
Thank every
one
Amazing.
of you.
Yes.
It's so early to get that high.
Yes,
but
sir.
there are only 21 likes.
Oh.
We could really use the likes, and we really would appreciate the.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
This, if you could subscribe if you haven't already, or
Yep.
tell your friends, tell a friend that it's them again.
That's that time again. That's right. Oh, and while we're on that subject, YouTube has been telling me that 75% of the folks that come and watch my content are subscribed. So thank you guys for the 75% that are. If you are one of the small percentage that is not subscribed, please consider doing so. We do this every week, and we're trying to add more content to it. We try to debate on this channel. We try to have good disagreement, but we're always keeping it in the intellectual realm and not going into any of those lower places that we see others jump to so frequently around here. So thank you guys so much for checking us out. But okay, let us get properly into this conversation as far as how we got here. Okay. I was excited for all of this. I was excited to see Redfall. I was under the assumption, I was on the school of thought that delay it until Halloween because it seemed like a Halloween kind of game, right? So delay it till then. That's what I wanted after that initial delay. But I was like, okay, they're still pushing it out. They're really gonna emphasize releasing it. Let's see where we are with it, right? Game at the same time, I happen to be building a gaming PC, a new machine, not just for games. I'm trying to do more with the channel and all that, but building a higher end machine. And one of the things that happened by just virtue of me building a machine is usually when you're buying a high end graphics card, they'll throw a game in there for you, and they happen to throw in what do you call it, Redfall, for me to have as part of buying my GPU, right? So with that, I got myself access to the premium edition. So I'm like, oh, this is great. I have a version on Steam now because that's what they'll do. They'll give you the version on Steam, and then the version on Xbox when it comes out, when it comes to Game Pass. So started playing it on the PC because, yeah, hey, I've already heard that they're going to be throwing it at 30 frames per second on the console. I'm like, well, I have access to it on the PC, so why not give it a shot there? So I was playing it on the PC, and to be absolutely honest, like, and I put it out there, and yes, once I put it out there, folks came for me. It is what it is. It wasn't a terrible experience, right? The 60 frames is not an issue. The 30 frames is not an issue on PC, right? But as you play it more and more and more, you do come to the realization that, hey man, the quality of the AI and the way that these folks move, it's just bad. Like, it's just fundamentally broken, right? You see enemies literally staring at walls for endless times. You can literally walk up to a bad guy and he's supposed to catch you, and instead you just walk right past him and he's just like sitting there talking to him amongst himself, stuff like that.
Or you could kill someone right next to them, and they'll just keep
their
walking
their partners
around.
Won't know. Yes.
Right?
And
or
even
they'll
weirder,
yell, you killed my friend, but they won't come and attack you, and you're right in front of them.
And you're right in front of them.
Can I just talk about the fact that there's only one audio cue for when you do a melee attack? It's either, or there's two. There's one if you're breaking glass, or another one if you're hitting like a metal wall. That's it. You could be hitting straight flesh, and it's just
nothing.
Hitting a wall. You could be punching air.
Yes, and it sounds
you
like
get
you're
the
hitting a
same
wall.
sound
Yes,
than if you punched a metal wall.
Yeah.
And like punching a person in the face, same sound, right? Yeah. And for the life of me, this is a AAA budgeted game.
Mm-hmm.
You did deals with Arby's.
you couldn't do a cutscene.
What before? We're gonna talk about the cutscenes in a second because there's smoke there. But we couldn't even get takedown animations.
Yeah.
And it's not like, listen, you can say whatever you want, and this is definitely Xbox's and Microsoft's fault. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anyone's saying it's not, but it's their fault. But but even if you want to say, well, they did it within Bethesda, why didn't you call id or Tango, because they have some amazing stealth kills when you kill the visitors.
Yeah.
None of you couldn't do any of that. And then this whole thing is about the world that you built.
Yep.
Right? And you can't even, like, when they did the Apple One More Thing announcement of the game, you had a cutscene. That's not even in the game.
Well, but okay.
You get a watercolor flipbook.
To be fair, though, and we're gonna get into it, right? We're gonna get into it. The context there really matters, and Phil Spencer's interview provides a lot of context to why possibly the game ended up the way it did, right? Phil's interview was very, very, very clear.
Phil Spencer didn't tell me anything about why there's no cutscenes and why you can't get.
Of course it did. Of course it did. It told you a lot of that. Why that's the case.
And
shout
how
out
did
to
they
the
not
Xbox
notice
expansion
that
pass
was there?
For being here. I'm sorry. Go ahead, everyone. How did they
not notice that there's no cutscenes?
So where let's wait to give that smoke, because that's a whole topic, right? Because the thing that I want to spend at least 30 good minutes regaling and discussing is their internal mock review process. But that's neither here nor there. Like, hit me with beyond the 30 frames, because I know you're playing on Series X, right?
So funny enough, right. The 30 FPS didn't even bother me on
exactly.
Not the way it bothered
beyond
me
the 30
FPS,
because a lot of people have been making a lot of smoke. They were making a lot of smoke about that 30 FPS. That was the basis of starting the conversation about all this game, right? But let's put that 30 FPS to the side, because if I'm wrong, and I put it out there on Twitter, and a lot of people responded, many people saying I was capping. For the record, when I said it holds up to the PC version, which I had played for 5 hours up until that point, which is an honorable feat to achieve, being that I'm playing it on a beastly machine and having the console version somewhat match it, right? It's 30, but it's a solid 30. They didn't do too many concessions. Now, of course, at that time I hadn't played the Series S version. That one, oh yeah, you feel it, right? But the Series X version, not so much. It actually held up to its PC counterpart pretty well. That's what I meant. And maybe that's what I should have said, but a lot of people go, what are you talking about?
You don't got to explain yourself.
Oh, people are like, oh, this looks like 360 footage. What are you people talking about? Oh, you're losing credibility. I'm like, get out of here. I'm not here for your credibility.
I'm not on the train where I have to be mad at something because everybody else is mad.
Exactly.
And the algorithm is rewarding you to. I'm just talking about the issues that I had specifically. And by the way,
that's right. Yeah.
there are moments in the game where it actually visually looks good.
It looks great. Yeah.
There's big draw distance. You see all the trees going on.
Go stand in front. Go stand in front of where the water has been stopped, like at a certain angle, and you're just flabbergasted at the wave that is paused in front of you, and that scale and that scope. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Like when you look at it, you could take a lot of photos of just that area alone. It's very well executed. You know. It's not well executed everywhere, but in certain instances, you're absolutely right. And for the record, maybe I'm a little biased as well because I've lived in a New England town just like that, right? So when I first started playing the game, I was just mouth agape at how well they have been able to.
I think a part of it is like the game can have this issue, and they talked about this on Digital Foundry, where the textures take like 20 seconds to load.
Oh,
right?
bro,
and
I
so
tested
sometimes
that
you'll
out.
See,
man, they are not wrong. Especially the one inside the fire station. Man, it was just that you could just look at it. You can watch it for
but
like 30
I
seconds.
wonder when people call it a 360 game. Your gameplay is atrocious, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. This is terrible gameplay. I know.
Yes.
Terrible gameplay. I know.
But,
calm down. Yes.
I wonder if some of those screenshots where it like looks like a 360 game are when the textures haven't loaded. Because again, I've seen both in the game. I've seen where like this looks like nothing. It looks terrible. And I've seen other times where I'm like, you just look at the vista and you look at all the things going on, and it does look visually striking at times. Yep. But again, this is one of those games where you see what the potential could be, and it just feels like they didn't even try. And I'm not saying they didn't try. But that is what it feels like when you look at the lazy AI or non-existent AI, right? When you look at I thought I posted, right? I said, okay, at least thank God the vampires are smarter than the dumbass.
But you know what,
human
though?
AI.
You know what though? You said
but
that, and I was
then,
like, oh, okay. And then I tried it out, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, Everborn, you're wrong on that. They're
it's
just
like
as dumb.
You literally in this game, you know, when you were a kid and somebody was chasing you, and you do the thing where I'm running around in circles around a car, right? Like you can do that, and the vampires would just get stuck. If there's an obstacle between you and the vampire, you're good. Yes. You just stay there and shoot him.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it's that kind of thing where it's just like, did you actually try?
It's just a lot of fodder in the environment. Just a lot of fodder in the environment. Whether it be vampire or human, they're just a bunch of bumbling morons ready to get picked off by you just to get your power stronger and be able to get even more.
And it's and again, this is when the whole cutscene thing like really like becomes grating, where it's just like this is this big game that everybody was waiting for. They treated it like a AAA game. And then you see the opening scene and it's like watercolors. Absolutely. And then you free the fire station and it's just still frames. And it's like, what is this? Like Hi-Fi Rush, people call it a AA game. Look at all the cutscenes in that.
Yeah.
Look at all the well voice acted things in that.
Ladies
and I'm sure they had a much smaller budget than this game.
Ladies and that's the thing that's boys and girls, before you continue your rant,
you see the picture you used.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, may I welcome the one and only Mr. Slomo Backslap. Welcome, good sir. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, gentlemen. This is the only profile picture I will ever use on the game.
The only appropriate
profile
it's
the only
picture.
appropriate one.
That's right.
It's the only appropriate one.
Okay, now, I watched your video, Slomo.
But before we do that, real quick,
yes,
I'm glad you guys picked up on my comment about the textures taking 20 seconds to load.
Yeah. Oh boy, brother.
Ooh. I did not play this game. I've probably got about a good 5 hours in Redfall. I did not. I only played it on PC.
Okay.
The only place I would dare play it.
Yeah, me too.
I know of 2 people who have played it on consoles and said that after 2 hours they began to feel sick.
Okay.
And they couldn't. They believe. Well, one of them believes it may be a combination of the field of view with the 30 frames per second,
Yeah.
but both of them did not think the 30
Series
frames
X
per
or
second felt
S?
good. Series X for both.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
On S, I was like, nope, can't
One
handle
of
it.
them
But
I
on
was
X,
actually
okay.
playing with, and one of them was I was actually playing with for a few hours, and
Okay.
she had to tap out. She couldn't.
So no
any further.
cutscenes, and it makes you vomit. Good job, Arcane.
Oh,
Yes.
boy.
So
Jeebus.
we'll get back to the issues with the game, and I do want to be clear. I did have fun moments in the game when I was fighting some vampires. There's nothing fun about fighting the humans because they're too stupid to
Fodder,
pose any
basically.
challenge.
Yeah.
And it just made me so frustrated because you see that there are things that they could have done here, and how this makes it out the door is
surprising.
wild.
Yeah, we'll get into that because that also
Right?
has something to do with Phil's interview.
It's a game that I played where I saw the because I saw the potential.
Yeah.
It made me even more
even upset
if
that
that makes
they
any
had
sense.
something. Yes. Let me catch up on the quick super chat here. I see Mr. Joanna Dark. A little bit of the conversation we were having before. He says, "K Asante, in the 400 hours you've played Horizon Forbidden West, have you found Aloy's personality? ? Everborn, get a good PC and then you'll understand what the issues are with Star Wars." That's a good statement to make. I'm just saying, Although that kind of does feed into his narrative that PCs are full of issues, but that's neither here nor there. He won't tell you that he spent many weekends on the phone with me trying to get Windows on his Steam Deck, but that's neither here nor there.
And
we shall move forward.
immediately went back to SteamOS because the experience
And then
was not great.
we have Mr. Pixelbit G with a $5 super chat saying, "This is a AA game and reminds me of the WD up to the State of Decay. Of course, of State of Decay 2. Doesn't it feel familiar? Absolutely, it does. It feels like
I actually have it on good authority. This game is a AAA game from an actual developer that used to work at Microsoft.
Okay,
So this
so
is a
they
AAA
treated it
game.
as a AAA game.
Well, but it's the actual content of the game, not AAA. But then when you add in the marketing, when they consider something AAA or AA, they add marketing is a part of the cost. Like
So let me ask.
the A's with quality, but it's really only about.
Let's set up a quick standard here. A quick standard. If we're and I know the A's are very very reductive. They tend to be very reductive, right? The A's that you use to describe it, and there are so many nuances to it. But can we be as derivative as we possibly can and say, if you don't have cutscenes in your narrative-driven, story-driven game, you're not a AAA game? Is that established?
Let me push back on that. How about we say if you have an Arby's marketing deal, you are AAA, and you should never release this goddamn game.
Hey, how about when you have your reveal trailer be a 5-minute, high-quality animated
polished
cutscene?
More than anything in the actual
game. AAA, which is never actually seen ever in the actual game, then you're AAA.
See, no, but see,
and
look, I'm talking about the game itself.
You
not
delayed
everything
the
around
game
it.
a year. You could have paid another company to do some more CGI cutscenes for you. Something, like a flip
I actually
book.
think, and I said this to Everborn in DMs, that they need to employ, and they're working on something similar, but they need to speed the process up. They need to employ what Sony does with their first party studios.
The Sony Ninjas,
all of their, they have XDev, which is an entire studio that's all their entire job is to work on in-game animations and cutscenes for all of their games. They don't actually make a game. They just work on all the games as a support studio to make sure all their cutscenes are of a level of quality that Sony deems worthy of their first party games. And that's something that Microsoft has already kind of implemented with a second studio that Undead Labs has created. It doesn't have like an official name or anything, but one of Undead Labs' senior animators is running that studio. I forgot the guy's name. I sent everyone a link on it, but they're based out of Orlando, and their focus is on animation. They're working on State of Decay 3, and they're focusing on cross studio support in doing that kind of stuff for all the studios, but they're just not as experienced as XDev.
And Slomo, that's not to be confused with the ATG group, Advanced Technology Group, which is really there for helping devs get the best out of the hardware and solve issues that they may be having.
So, but the ATG group, though,
separate thing.
Yeah, but the ATG group, though, is also themselves not a studio. They are members of different studios that come together as needed.
Yeah, like Coalition and then Rare.
Exactly. There's a pieces of the Coalition, pieces of Rare, pieces of all these various. So the expertise they have across the various studios themselves have been brought together as the ATG group. So if an emergency situation presents itself where you need your wizards to go and help you, they take those pieces, they bring them together in order to go and deal with that, which is an interesting concept. But to Slomo's point, if you have a studio that's just dedicated to helping others, maybe there's more of a streamlined approach rather than borrowing from other studios who themselves also may be having work to do. You know, it's an interesting
I also feel
idea.
like even if they had an XDev studio already established within Xbox Game Studios, it still would not have helped Redfall, because based upon what Phil Spencer said, there was a lack of communication. There was a communication failure that prevented them from getting more of what they needed. Go ahead.
Slomo, let me ask a question, because myself and Everborn have been having this conversation, this almost debate, if you will, for a little while now, right? And I said this, and I was talking with King David, and he said something about it, and it turned into a hey that people started making on the internet. So let me make this clear, and this is with the backdrop of that Phil Spencer interview, right? That really crystallizes it for me. He says, "Here we go." All right, so
get ready for some.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get the tinfoil hat out. It's all good. So get this, okay?
Here we go.
So they said themselves, Phil Spencer said himself, that they did not pay the attention to this game and its studio as much as they should have, because all hands were on deck with Starfield, right? So they didn't interface with them until it was a little too late.
Can I just say one thing really quick,
Please,
just to add to your
go ahead,
point about
ahead.
about Phil saying that they haven't paid attention. That was very, like, I didn't like I understand what he's saying, but it bothered me in that if you are, again, this game got the full court press in terms of marketing for them, right? All the socials were in sync. Everybody's changing their PFPs. Again, you're doing marketing deals with people. You're doing a custom Xbox.
But the left brain doesn't talk to the right brain. That tends to be the problem here.
So the idea that this game is going to represent your brand, doesn't that warrant a weekly check-in? I'm not saying you need a weekly check-in for games like Pentiment.
Sure.
Right? But a game like this, shouldn't you have a trust but verify? Yes, you can do your thing, but we're gonna have weekly builds.
Yeah. So as much as we're gonna trust people like Jeff Grubb, who he's gotten a bit of lashings recently, but he tended to be one of the voices that people tend to believe when he speaks. He's even spoken about it in recent weeks, in recent days, I should say, about the issues there. And it seems that this was a game that when they acquired the studio, right, they saw the game there. They, much like the other games that were kind of mid-development and were dropped on their laps with the purchase, they saw this and went, okay, we're not going to cancel it. We're going to let you go forward with it. But they just kind of left them to their devices with this game. Right.
But you still tied yourself to it. You
exactly.
Still if it's a thing
lies.
where it's like just put it out because you were working on it,
Everborn,
then don't do all this marketing around.
You're fighting a fight you don't need to, because I wholeheartedly.
I'm not saying it for you. I'm just voicing. This is my therapy session for the week. I'm just voicing my frustration.
But here's my
They made it their
point.
one more thing. They made it their one more thing at the end of the E3. Like, you don't make a game your one more thing, and then you really don't care about that game, and we thought they were good. And,
they 100%
we didn't even realize until a few weeks ago that they didn't have 60 FPS. And we would have realized that, we would have got, we would have helped them out back last fall, when we needed to know that. Well, how come you didn't know that? How come you were able to tell them that, hey, stop working on that PS5 version of the game, but didn't also go look at the game and say, hey, is this going to run at 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X and S? Because that's a mandatory. Those things should have been hand in hand. And that's what I'm talking about with the lack of communication internally for them. Their internal processes, Phil talked about, like he said that needs to be revised and looked at. I seriously hope that's really happening.
Sanchez MTZ Gaming with a $5 super chat saying the default 90 FOV on Redfall is terrible. 110 to 120 is the sweet spot. You can change it in settings. There are many settings that need to be changed before that game feels right, including the dead zone settings. Some have found that, specifically on console anyway, some have found that the motion blur helps a lot when you remove that. There's a lot of interesting tweaks that need to happen on that game before it actually becomes playable. But yes, thank you for the super chat, man. Thank you for being here.
One thing I want to say,
let me finish the super chats real quick. Mrs. Joanna Dark here with a $2 super chat saying, "Can we agree that Sonic is not AAA?"
He says, "Can we agree Sonic is AAA?"
No, he says minus. So not AAA.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, you were going to say, everyone. Go ahead.
No, so at work I lead a small dev team, and one of the things I tell them all the time is it's not that there's a problem, right? But what we want to do is highlight those problems as soon as they come up, because then we can communicate that to product and managers and all those things and set expectations accordingly, right? And so a lot of the times you will see people that are so afraid to say, "Hey, I messed up," or "I can't figure this thing out," because they think they're going to look bad, that they don't say anything until they have to say something. And then when they do say something, it's too late, and now everybody looks bad.
So, okay.
Right? So this is the key that I think it feels like didn't happen there, where people knew there were issues and then they did not bring them up for
I want to
whatever reason. And what's the culture there that they felt like they couldn't bring those things up? They couldn't
bring it up. Yeah. I hear you on that. But the limited integration thing also really puts possibly questions in place as to how open door is that policy, being that they're very limited integration, right? There's even conversations that have the reports that have come out that some of the Bethesda employees, some of the ZeniMax employees are still somewhat upset that they don't get the benefits of Microsoft because they're still known as ZeniMax, right? They don't get the cool things you'd think you'd get because now you're a Microsoft employee, because they're still very limited when they say limited integration. All that's happening there, by and large, is they're funding your game. Everything else is exactly the same. It's like just another day. They are not influencing you in any way, shape, or form, for better or worse. So it seems, right? But okay, Slomo, I want to get your opinion on my hypothesis, because I know what everyone thinks about it, and I know what the internet has made, the internet has made of it. I want your opinion on this, okay? So,
okay,
as a business, right? From a business perspective, you lead the head of a studio. You are a third-party studio, right? And you're focused heavily on console and some on PC, right? And I know you Slomo think deep on these matters, because you spend a lot of time talking to developers, a lot of time thinking about all the machinations that basically lead to the outcomes that we either enjoy or we bemoan, right? So I think you understand where I'm coming from with it. As a third-party developer, if you are making a game right now, right, as a third party, you are basically effectively trying to hit the biggest pool you can, specifically in the console space. That is the PlayStation. Am I wrong in that? Right?
That's correct. Yeah.
You're hitting the PlayStation, right? Now, and by the nature of how the hardware is put together, both PlayStation versus its competitors, Switch and Nintendo, Switch and Xbox, they don't interoperate in a way, well, they can, but not in a way that makes them all shine as bright as they possibly can. In other words, you must make choices as to where you're going to be paying your attention, because if you're paying your attention to the Sony side, the Xbox side will suffer a little bit. If you're playing, and as such, so will the Switch, if you so choose to bring it to everything. Makes sense, right?
Leading the witness.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure we're establishing the ground.
Okay.
I'm sure we're establishing the groundwork here, right?
We are walking the same path.
That's right. So by very nature, and the last piece of my puzzle, and you know this as well as I do, that whenever you talk to developers, they say the process of game development is stacking a house of cards. You start with a foundation and you just build on top, build on top, build on top, build on top. And that's what happens for many, many, many years to get the games that you're looking at, right? It started with a strong foundation. They just kept building on top. So the first decisions that you make in that house of cards are very, very important, right? So with all that clear, is it not advantageous, or is it not a righteous argument for me to make when I say until Microsoft bought them, they were making a PlayStation game? Because by the very nature of being third party, you make your game for the biggest console audience, and you make hardware decisions and technology decisions based on where that large audience is. And the decision you'll make by and large will go against Xbox because they develop differently than PlayStation does. But you'll hit PlayStation first because they have the biggest audience.
Okay, I this is where I probably like.
Please, explain.
We hit a fork in the road here.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so
yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Although when you first started developing a game and you were going to make a multi-platform game, and it's going to be on PlayStation, it's going to be on PC, it's going to be on Xbox, potentially on Switch if you care to go that low, right?
That low. Thank you, the Abacus slander. We live for that here. Let's go.
Hey, I had to throw one in, right?
That was for you, Mr. Joe in the Dark.
You got to go with the lowest common denominator.
Sure.
Of course.
Yes,
So like
yes.
you have to look at like, I need this to run, and it needs to be parity on everything.
On everything.
So
yes,
let me make sure that like it's going to be parity on everything.
Sure.
So
yes.
yes, I do want to appeal to the biggest platform because that's where I expect to get the most of my sales. Yet at the same time, I can't say if there's something that PlayStation 5 does that the Xbox Series X doesn't do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have like it be where, well, that's a feature that's going to be on the PS5. That's not going to be on the Xbox Series X, because I don't care. Because I don't care about giving Sony that leg up. I don't work for them.
But see, to the point though that you just made, the opposite can be true, where if the hardware that has the biggest audience has features that would make it shine, but others don't, you would most likely still think about putting the man hours there because that's where the biggest audience is. Am I wrong?
I think it would be a conversation, but I think ultimately you would choose not to use it. Because the thing is that now you're focusing, you're adding additional development time towards something that isn't going to be
usable anywhere else.
Feature rich everywhere else. And so it's like now you're actually going to have when you start actually getting towards the end of development and you're actually trying to get these games actually optimized for the platforms that they're going to be working on. Now you're doing actually additional work for this one platform.
That's right.
So even though it's maybe a bigger platform, as far as your team is concerned, you still have 3 platforms to build upon, whether one of them is 70% of the market or not.
Sure.
That's still additional work that you have to do. If it's a multi-platform game, you get your baseline and you work from there.
And this is the point I'm trying to make here. And it's exactly to basically what Pixelbit G in the chat just said. The problem is this game isn't designed for the series consoles and uses none of their features. That's the point I was trying to make here.
This game don't use those features from last gen consoles.
But listen carefully. Listen carefully. Look, and I've said this before on this show, right? Sony, to their credit, built their development pipeline in a way that uses exactly what you know and have come to expect from them all this time, from the PlayStation 4 all the way through, right? And they don't offset any resources on anything, right? Everything is resource. They're basically giving you the pool and having you divide it as you so choose, right? That is their development platform. That's the way. That is the way that their pipeline works, right? So you can choose to allocate some of that to ray tracing if you so choose, or choose to allocate that however you so choose to dole that out. Xbox, on the other hand, decided that, if we're going to make this work, we have to give you ability to offload various things onto different, I call it HOV lanes, if you will. So that way, your main let me finish. So that way, your main resource pool does not get affected by the overuse of resources from time to time, right? And because of, and that's exactly to Pixel G's point here, because they have different ways of going about like solving the same problem. If you start out developing for PlayStation, you will never be able to go back and harness the powers of Xbox because you would have had to make that decision from jump, right? So it's not like, oh, we'll solve it later. What they're literally doing is they're gonna patch it later rather than what should have been a development from jump, thinking about the hardware you have and how to make it best shine, right? That's why I say, hey, it's a PlayStation game, because if it wasn't, you would have used mesh shaders from jump. And the fact that if you had used mesh shaders from jump, you wouldn't have then been able to use it on PlayStation.
But see, that when you say you're fine up to the point where you say it's a PlayStation game, because then it's not a PlayStation game.
I'm using that as a pejorative. It's a game that's developed for mass consumption.
You're defending that language, right? Like you're defending the fact that you're saying it's a PlayStation game, but now you're trying to say, oh, it's a pejorative.
Okay.
And it also doesn't matter because the moment they canceled the PS5 version, this is a communication issue.
Sure.
This whole
Absolutely.
This is an issue between Xbox, main Xbox, and ZeniMax Media. The problem is that when they canceled the PlayStation 5 version, the follow-up conversation should have been, how do we now make this game a game that accentuates all the benefits of an Xbox Series console,
but that's
and
not
make
possible.
sure it hits all of the
without redeveloping it.
Wait a minute.
Fine, redeveloping.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. To my point, I'm trying to make here. Lucius Augustus
the release of this game
in the
has
chat,
hurt
right?
their.
Maybe they should have canceled it then. Because to the point of what I'm saying, right? You can't switch APIs mid-development. It's a Vulkan-backed game, right? Because that's what PlayStation does. And I didn't want to go deep technical, but sure. Whereas Microsoft is DirectX, it's a different development pipeline. You cannot switch mid-development. You just can't do that.
Okay.
Right?
No, you can't.
You know what you could do? You know what you could do that has nothing to do with what platform you were targeting before? You could put goddamn cutscenes, right? You could not have idiot AI.
He wants to talk about the base level BS. No, and on that we agree.
Okay, but this is the thing. So, but when you say that because this was designed, listen. Jedi Survivor, by that logic, was designed for PlayStation. No. You still have a performance mode on Jedi Survivor.
Let's be absolutely clear. None of this matters. My argument to this is basically explaining the 30 to 60 FPS. Everything beyond that, I have no way of backing them up or having any kind of slack.
Even if we're specifically talking about the 30 to 60 FPS,
yes,
all these multi-plat games that have to hit this,
they do it a different way, and of course they're also more experienced with Unreal Engine, and this is the first time. This is the second time they're actually using.
Yeah, they used it with Typhoon Hunter.
Yes.
Which is the DLC for Prey.
Exactly.
They were familiar with Unreal Engine already, and the coding language is still C++. So Void Engine and Unreal all use that. As well as they use the Crytek engine for Prey.
For Prey itself,
that's C++ as well. So there really wasn't like Unreal Engine isn't the problem here.
So all I will say is
not the problem.
Look. All I will say is if everything that culminated around this started and ended with that 30 FPS talk, then 100%, right? Then I'm fighting the good fight. I'm saying, look, context matters. But since beyond the 30 to 60 frames per second conversation, there's still all these other broken pieces and all this repetitive stuff and all that. I have no smoke for that. I mean, I have no way of defending that, and I agree with you guys wholeheartedly that it's beyond the technology.
So let's limit it to the 30 FPS, right? Okay, since we don't want to talk about all the other things they could have done.
Sure.
Every multi-plat game, if there's a performance mode on the PlayStation, it is there on the Xbox. everyone. Now we can talk about how one performs over the other,
Yes.
but there's no situation, you have no evidence
But
of
that is the
any
reason
game that
why.
says
What you're
we are
describing
60
now-
FPS on PlayStation and only 30 on the Xbox. That
No,
has
no.
never happened.
That's
and
true.
This is a game where they had to completely not optimize for the PlayStation anymore at all. So when they were purchased in 2021,
Yeah.
from then until May of 2023, and they only had the Xbox to focus on, we cannot say, we can't talk about what they could and couldn't have used and what it started out as a PlayStation, whatever, and like none of that matters.
None of it matters.
Right?
Yes.
So even your premise of it started as a PlayStation prioritized game, that still doesn't matter because every other game does that, and those games have to focus on PlayStation as well as
true,
Xbox, and they didn't
but
have to focus
to
on
your
PlayStation
point,
anymore.
when they do, have you not heard the narrative right now? Oh, it's the best console on the market.
Yeah, but it's never
except in
anything where
paper.
one has 60 and one has 30. So I'm saying we cannot blame 30 FPS on this being designed to take advantage of a PlayStation.
Sure. All I'm saying though is, in general,
Especially when all
the hardware was
PlayStation
not taken
first-party
into
games
consideration.
have a 60 FPS option on PS5.
All I'm saying is, in
mean,
general, that hardware was not taken into consideration, right? I'm not saying that's, give them some slack because of it. I'm just saying that is added context that might be necessary in the framing of this conversation. But needless to say, beyond the whole technical aspect, it sucks. The game is not playing well.
It's not that necessary because they should have never released it in the state that this game was released in, period. And whether that means that it should have took 6 months to get 60 FPS in there, or whether it means it should have released 2 years from now when they could actually have AI that was competent, textures that loaded as soon as you look at them and look at the objects that they're supposed to load on, as soon as like you would get a actually optimized build on PC that isn't CPU bound like the current build is.
Or the fact that you can't pause the game even though it's not a service game.
Right. All these things.
They
could have had it already.
That service component. Let's talk about that real quick before we move on to actual news proper. So where do we think, what do we think happened there? Like, I've heard some say that, they were making a service game. They were making a Destiny-like game. And then when Microsoft came and bought them, they said, no PlayStation version, and dropped the gas components, right? So is that what happened?
It was being developed around the same time as Fallout 76, right?
That's Fallout 76,
I mean, and this game was was approved to be developed back when ZeniMax Media was looking at ways to
when they were on
keep
that
the
train.
money going.
Yep.
And they went away from their single player focused games to multiplayer focus. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I don't know for certain, but that does make a lot of sense that this game was something, and that wasn't necessarily something that the Arcane would have done if they didn't have a need to do it, if ZeniMax didn't need to do it.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
Let me ask a question to Kay Asante's point, right?
Sir.
Like, is it possible that when the acquisition happened, this was just far enough along, and
I suspect so.
Microsoft was like, listen,
yeah,
you're far enough along, it looks like a decent budget project, we can get behind this thing, throw it in Game Pass, not realizing the can of worms they were opening.
Yeah. And then later down the line, when those conversations had become like a memory, all of a sudden the marketing department started and went, this is the next one. We're in need of another banger. People are hungry for another one. Let's put our core press behind this thing without those other conversations coming into play going, this is just a game that will just kind of be dumped out. They did not, those conversations there was no continuity.
Why would that ever be a acceptable? That's the problem I have.
Yeah.
Why is that acceptable?
Should not be, right?
This is just going to be a game that's going to be dumped out. So why are you even making it?
Yeah.
Like this is
that was the next question. That was my follow-up question, which is so Slomo, you talked about it. Maybe the game takes 2 years to get to what it should have been. Mm-hmm. Is it? This is why I hope that they don't give it the Sea of Thieves treatment. And I know they're gonna feel like they have some promises to honor and whatever.
Is their first $70 game?
Is that the best use? is that the best use of Arcane's time
I don't
to
think
have
so.
them spending another 2 years on this?
No.
When they could be working on another Prey or some other thing that is greenlit from the beginning under Microsoft tutelage or whatever?
I think this is kind of getting into the territory of like Anthem and EA, where it's this big of a disaster that you can't realistically, like, the amount of work that you have to put in to get it to where it should have been is going to take so long, and it's going to take so many people, and it's going to use up so much. You're going to be spending so much money to do that, knowing at the end result, the consumer, the gamer, isn't going to say, well, I'm not paying extra for that. I'm not. So you can't monetize that extra money you have to put in on a game you already released, versus taking those same people and moving them towards a project where you're actually going to develop it from the ground up on Xbox Series consoles, use all the features that you have. You can actually pay more attention to it now that you made the mistake of not paying attention to Arcane Austin's development, and then now actually develop a game that could potentially give what Arcane Austin fans expect from them, as well as something that they can actually say, well, we actually had all the resources we needed from the very start. I think
here's a question
the
from
latter
Victor
is
Allenstein.
way more like a better option than going through and, hey, it's like Sea of Thieves, but who cares now? Because honestly,
no,
like with Rare, that's a little too late. You can't expect to get Sea of Thieves kind of success on every time.
Because Sea of Thieves was also started as a gas game, and this has started more as a single player game with gas elements in it. It may not translate as easily. Well, real quick, Victor Allenstein is asking a quick question here, and I'll let you continue, Everborn. He's asking the question is, would this have launched if ZeniMax were still the one that owned the studio
I think they would have
proper?
canned it. I think Microsoft said this is something we can throw in Game Pass, so put it out because you're this far along, not realizing they weren't actually that far along. But
I agree with that.
what was I going to say? Slomo, what were you saying, or who was talking last before?
I think it was Slomo.
I finished my point. All I was saying was that I think that they're better served doing what they said they were going to do
elsewhere.
Putting the 60 FPS patch in there, fix this game as far as optimizing it so that it actually runs well, and then move on to an actual game.
What about the deluxe edition that people bought, and the season content and the extra characters that they've been promised, and blah 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 blah?
No,
do you exit
anything
stage
that you
left
promised?
on that?
I think anything. I wouldn't do what that's what EA did with Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda, where they actually promised an expansion,
and they just kind of exit stage left,
and just canceled everything within 90 days. I don't think you do that. I think you fix it, whatever you promised with this game, you do it, you fix it, you get it to where you said that you were actually going to get, but you don't don't go and you don't start approving of new things to this game, like Sea of Thieves, where you start adding, we're going to add in a whole new mode here, we're going to add in some story-based narrative stuff here. No, don't start approving of things based upon what the community said, because that's what Rare did. The community said, we want XYZ, and they said, okay, we'll give you XYZ. After launch, and that's not what they need to do with this. They need to just deliver on what they said they were going to deliver, fix the game, add the 60 FPS mode on performance mode on consoles, add whatever extra characters you said you were going to add, move on. Essentially kind of like what they did with Bleeding Edge.
Yeah,
and
but Bleeding Edge then was just then canned after that, right? They shut the servers down.
So they were done after they delivered on everything they said they were going to do.
This is their Bleeding Edge, basically, isn't it? This is basically Arcane's Bleeding Edge. Yeah.
Yes.
This is what I'm kind of getting at. Like, you, as the consumer, do you want? Because remember. It feels like it started as a service game, but then it's not a service game. And the only real benefit of going back and doing all those core things, there's one thing to say you're going to fix the AI, because I think hopefully that's a thing that can be done. There's another thing to say you're going to fix the 30 FPS. Again, that is a thing that can definitely be done. Yep. But for them to go back and do those things, wouldn't you rather them spending that time working on something else? Because it really feels like if you're going to go back and spend the effort,
it wouldn't take the
way
whole
they did
team
with,
to fix it.
It
Like,
wouldn't take the whole team, sure. But what I'm saying is, when we talk about giving it the Sea of Thieves treatment, Sea of Thieves was designed as a service game from the beginning.
Yes, that's what I
Right?
said. This is a hybrid game, which may not translate as well with future content.
It's a hybrid of a lot of things that doesn't do very well in a lot of different genres, like the looter aspect of it.
The guns are terrible when you should be looking for, when guns are the main reason to be attracted to that looter type game, then the loot
and skill
itself
trees,
should be more should be more attractive, and it's definitely not. It's literally four stereotype
the skill trees are
archetype
terrible too.
weapons, and that's it. Yeah, absolutely.
Like a third of your skill tree is dedicated towards multiplayer, but what if you're someone who wants to play solo? Now you've got 2/3 of a skill tree. Like you don't even care about the other third of it. Like that's just. I don't agree with that like design decision from them. But I think to everyone's point about the AI, we've seen in the past where a bad AI, and Phil Spencer kind of insinuated this in the kind of funny interview that he said buggy AI. He specifically said buggy AI when it came to Redfall. Yep. It may be just somebody fat fingered a line of code. And that's why the AI doesn't work right. I remember Aliens Colonial Marines. For some of us who remember that disaster of a game, was considered at one point the worst game ever released. And Alien Colonial Marines was Gearbox is supposed to do it. They outsourced it to some little hole in the wall indie studio, and they literally fat fingered a line of code. And the AI was busted. Somebody on the PC version, some dude just went in and fixed it. And the AI was spectacular after that. If you got the mod on PC. And additionally, there is, I saw something recently this week about, I think with Respawn with, I think it's something with either Titanfall or the Apex Legends, one of the Apex Legends modes where a community member fixed a line of code that fixed busted AI for their game too. So literally it could end up being a very simple fix. With a game that's going to have so much code in it as any modern game is going to have, more than likely it's going to take a while for them to find it, but it probably will be a simple fix once they actually get it.
Yeah. Let me read out Buck's super chat here, because he's here and he's very generous and he gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you, Buck. I appreciate you, man. He says Arcane dev told media that Microsoft came in and canned PS5 version with a capital C. His comments ignited a console war, hurt his own game, and could have impacted a $70 billion merger. And his game
Harvey
was
Smith
trash.
got some nerves making that comment and putting out this damn game.
Let the last part of his comments. Let the last part of his comments then marinate in your mind. He said, with a capital C, it ignited a console war, hurt his own game, could have impacted a $70 billion merger, and his game was trash. Way too casual. Thank you, Buck.
Hey, look, his game sucks. We could definitely fault him for that. Are we going to fault him for telling the truth, though?
No,
he could have waited a month to tell the truth. There was no reason to add that line in the middle of...
He also didn't say that in a malicious kind of way, at least not how it was reported. But
Sony did say it in a malicious way when they added it to their regulatory documents.
But you and I both know
he's not an executive. He is a director of a game. He does not give a crap whether they get ABK or not. He does not care about what Phil Spencer having the
and of course to that point, Slomo.
Yeah, he also didn't care about how this was going to make the platform look with this release.
But
he just don't care about nothing,
guys. But think about it. There's a reason why they don't care, right? Because they are still limited integration. When this whole thing happened, he didn't see any benefit. He's probably still never met Phil Spencer. They are hands off to a detrimental degree, I think. That is why
very detrimental.
Yes. That is why some of their directors aren't coming around speaking the company line. They don't know what the company line is. They've never been told. They were bought yesterday. Now the logo on the check just says MS instead of ZeniMax, and they went right back to work with the same people they know and the same.
But the check clears, doesn't it?
It does. But the problem is that is
Okay.
Microsoft smoke. They need to come and press the flesh. Speak to Harvey. Be like, hey, this is what we expect. This is what we're looking at. And if he's out there talking smack, it's not kind of his fault a bit, right? Because Microsoft should be.
It's not his fault. It's their fault for not communicating.
Exactly.
Okay. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
You have a game director making a game you're going to be marketing. You're telling me it's not Microsoft's purview to go there and press the flesh and get him on the same page as you? Like, that's surprising.
Okay, wait a minute. Just wait a minute. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on just 1 minute. Can
One
we
damn
not
minute.
pretend the emperor is wearing clothes? Can we just for 1 second we like that comment at that time, how everyone knows about this, everyone's talking about it. You work at the company, you work there, they sign your checks, you don't know that? Any mega fan or fan on Twitter knows this and knew how that would come off.
So are you? But by the way, are you now saying
that's not a thing you don't know?
Are you now saying that Harvey Smith deserves to be reprimanded because he should have known better?
No, I'm saying he shouldn't have said that dumb crap, especially after putting out Redfall.
This is the same Everborn Saga that last time when we first heard him say this, Everborn Saga said this was all psyops and he had authority to say it because he knew.
Yeah, that was then. that was when I thought Redfall was going to be good.
Love them digital receipts, baby.
Well, you know what? Well, based upon their own mock reviews, Harvey Smith thought Redfall was going to be good.
Okay, all right, yeah. Great.
Okay. Let us move forward. Let's move forward because we're going to get back to Phil Spencer's interview. Phil Spencer's interview is important to this conversation. I want to get back to it because that will really will bookend the conversation of this show with that.
We need to talk about Slomo's video, but I guess we can talk about the interview.
Well, but Slomo's video will be in the context of Xbox and their way forward, and all that will happen during the interview process. But first and foremost, I wanted to stop and have some proper gaming conversation. And first, I'll bring up the fact that Hogwarts Legacy has topped 50 million in sales and over $1 billion.
Let's go.
Just felt like bringing that up real quick because some of us choose to
That's
still not play it.
Million gets you $1
That's
billion?
an amazing game, and I can't understand anyone who would choose not to play it.
Not to play that. Like, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? What gamer would call themselves a gamer and not play it?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, who would do that? I mean, that's crazy.
That's just ridiculous.
I'd rather play Redfall.
Imagine owning the game and still not play it.
That's
right,
right?
You just wasted your money like crazy.
Just ridiculous, you know. But nobody in this audience. I mean, come on, guys. You know, we're
absolutely
gamers.
not.
We hit a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that would never be anyone in this chat or even on this panel.
I mean, come
on,
hilarious. Come on now, come on.
What kind of fraud would do that?
Which fraud?
Shout out to AA Ron.
Damn. And Buck with another $5 super chat. Thank you for the support, brother. He says, Slomo, you ever hear third-party dev Moon Hat? Moon Hat. You ever heard of Money Hat from Sony blabbering that they got paid not to put it on Xbox? You run your mouth and release it, trash the brand. Oh, wow. Okay.
The difference is that Sony puts it in their contracts to their third-party developers. You don't say nothing to nobody about what we're doing. Okay,
that's right. Yes,
they make sure. I remember some content creators seeing Remedy devs at one of the PAX events before Control came out, and they tried to ask about the Xbox version, and them dudes literally acted like the CIA was going to jump out and snipe them. They looked around and was like,
they scared for the Yakuza. You know what it is.
We can't talk about that. Yep. That's the kind of fear Xbox needs to put into their own daggone developers. if you
we're saying we want more crunch. Is that what we're saying? Whatever it takes.
Whatever you want to do and want them to say, you need to make it sure that when someone says, hey, but was there ever a PS5 version of this game? Harvey Smith need to be looking around. Is Aaron
Treat it like Kevin Feige is watching.
Aaron Greenberg about to come behind me and snap my neck?
Yep.
Don't talk about it. Like if that's what you want. So this really isn't about Harvey. It's about the fact that Harvey wasn't told. Don't talk about stuff like that.
It's about the fact that the sometimes $3 trillion company is so lackadaisical with their employees, whereas the $1 billion company
employees had common sense.
Well,
whatever.
The $1 billion company keeps their employees on a tight leash, whereas the $1 trillion company is like, we're lackadaisical, Oh, of course, and Buck. Continuing the conversation with another $2 super chat. Thank you, brother. This is amazing.
I think Buck is King David's sock account.
I think, yeah. Don't you buck upon me. Yes, absolutely. He
wow.
says, Slomo.
What, yeah, wait a minute. Okay.
He says,
have you ever seen them at the same place at the same time? That's all I want to know.
Phil needs to crack the whip. Indeed. It seems that way. It seems that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That grumpy Phil looked like he was getting ready to.
Looks like he was ready to go back in the lab and crack the whip. Indeed,
man.
But okay,
that man that interview, he looked like he ain't had a good BM in about 3 days. He looked like he was a little irritated, a little upset, a little irate. And some of them questions, I mean, they weren't like hardball questions, but he was just like, man, I gotta answer this.
I gotta answer these mother
like, yeah, I'm
questions.
like, yes,
that's right.
That's what I want. I want to see that honesty. Go ahead.
I mean, like after that, like dealing with, it's just like I can understand it, right? You have been for the last almost 18 months dealing with the CMA. And then you get this thing, which looks like it was a shock to everybody, came out of nowhere. And it's off of something that basically could have been negotiated out, right? It seems like that they just maybe wanted to block anyway, whatever. Like all that effort, and now it looks like it might not happen, or you may have to be doing this for another year or two to deal with the appeals process.
Yep.
And and then on top of that, you get the Redfall news, which you probably weren't paying attention to because you was stuck in Brussels and the UK. Like you could see it in his face where it's like, when like everything's going wrong at the moment. He's just he had the Danny Glover, I'm too old for this crap face.
Absolutely. So in the chat we have Pete Tran in the chat. Go ahead, man. Yeah.
Go ahead. I was gonna say Phil and Matt Booty need to show up to studios wearing gloves, and the devs feel the implication of, oh man, like somebody might get axed today, like that. Slomo. That's like they wearing gloves.
Hold on, slow. I think they need to send Satya to the studios. You know how Phil had to sit down in front of Satya and explain his existence?
Yeah. But that's the problem though. Why it gotta be the CEO of the entire corporation? That's gotta be that cutthroat.
Why does it have to go all the way up that rigid, high? Yes.
That because Phil or Matt or somebody under they need a goon.
But remember,
basketball.
There's no Booty.
The guy
right?
that was going.
This is not Booty's fault because Booty is not part of this line.
True.
Of
this is not Booty's fault. Right? This is more Pete Hines' fault than Booty's fault.
Yep. It's more of a Hines fault.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's not the fault of the Booty.
Pause. To that end,
it's never the fault of the Booty. The Booty's always good.
And I'm gonna,
give
you all that
good.
chance. Just pause. Well, not pause because anyway.
No pause.
That may be true. That may be true, right?
No, I do think Phil needs a hitman. So here's the thing, right? There's this like fire Phil talk, and we'll get to that. But I don't think the answer is fire Phil because Phil is, as a member of the board, he is there to, and he has done so very effectively, to advocate for the gaming division to the rest of the company. Yeah. And he understands that, and I think that role is important. But I do think he needs a second that's going to oversee everything that they acquire.
He needs the bad cop to his good cop, is what you're saying.
Right. Well, no, he needs to be in the board to advocate for the gaming division, to explain to them what is necessary. Yeah. But
he needs a pit bull.
That day to day, like, yes, someone needs to report to him to explain those things. and then he can communicate that to the board, but this other guy is the one that gets his hands dirty.
So to your point,
I alluded to that in my video.
Let me quickly like recognize this chat real quick. Is it P3 Tran? I think that's what it is. In the chat says, go watch David Jaffe's stream on Phil Spencer's interview, where he said that when he was working for Sony, he pissed his pants every time. Guess what? Yoshida came for inspection in fear of getting shut down. Because Yoshida seems to be the that's right. He is a cutthroat, and I've heard that many reports have said that Yoshida behind the scenes is that pit bull that we're talking about here.
It's probably the same with Miyamoto.
Probably, yes.
Oh, heck yeah.
And the man Hargeet Shani in here, thank you, sir. He's here with a $5 super chat saying, am I to understand that someone has bought Hogwarts and still not played it? And he's giving a bunch of eyes.
Maybe it wasn't to my liking, sir.
Good for WB on the sale. They need that good news.
Yes, that's
absolutely. And then, of course,
I imagine,
not to be outdone, Buck, once again, with another super chat. Forgive me, guys. A lot of super chats today. With a $5 super chat saying, real booty talk. It is his fault. Booty oversaw Halo. He is the reason 2022 was light. And that's why the first half of 2023 is all on Bethesda. Don't forget how we got here. Yeah, I do see his point.
There's a very good point there. Yeah.
Go ahead, Slomo. You were saying.
Booty deserves a lot of smoke. And I've been giving him that smoke.
So you're saying the booty deserves smoke?
He got punked.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, ever since Playground Games punked him last year, I was like, I don't know if this the dude. I don't know if this is the guy that actually can.
His name no ring bells in those streets.
Yeah.
When you hear booty, you don't shake.
Gamescom.
The booty doesn't cause shivers in the streets. You know what I'm saying?
He shows up and they act like, hey, all right, what's up, Matt? And they go back and
bring
go
on
about
the booty.
their business.
I'm sorry. Forgive me. Yes. But all right, let us move on. Let us move on because there's going to be a lot of slander on this episode. For a moment, let me stop and say we have 201 people watching this show right now. Thank you so much.
For 94 likes.
94
likes.
What is that? Please bring up the like ratio. Come on, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a lot of hate watching out here. Hit the like button.
Hit the like button. Where else are you gonna hear us calling the booty to the carpet? Pause. Forgive me. Yes.
Oh my God.
But let's move to the field.
Right, so anyway, the interview. Talk to me about.
Well, no. We're not gonna get to the interview yet.
Why?
We're not getting to the interview yet. Not just yet, because I want to give everybody a PSA and tell people, if you still are part of the PlayStation, whether it be the Essentials collection or whatever, and you still want to be still have those games that are going away, you have less than a week, I think it is, before the PlayStation collection goes away forever and you don't get access to it. If you want it, go to your dashboard now, find that collection, and hit add to my library to each and every one of those games. Because in less than a week or so, it will be gone. It will no longer be accessible by anybody who signs up further. So this is your PSA for that. So I don't know if the members on this panel have access to PlayStation Plus, but if you do, go hit that button. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to retain any of those games.
Gamefire, I can't pronounce that second name. Says we should rename the show to the Booty Circle Podcast.
The Booty Circle Podcast. Oh boy.
Booty
BCP
shaped in circles.
Oh no! Stop.
All right.
Okay, this is terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Of course, Hargeet puts a Hogwarts.
Oh man, hold up, man. Let me copy that.
Salute to the man, Hargeet Chani. And I'll put it on the screen.
Xbox app.
There you go. For those who have the opportunity to collect it. Let us know you've collected it. Salute to you, Hargeet. Thank you so much for doing that. That's great. Redeemed. Yeah.
Come on, box.
I bet you it's gonna be sold out. You know somebody's gonna get it immediately. Anyway, so all right.
I'm not gonna hit the button. I don't want to take it. But I probably someone already took it anyway. But
so okay. I wanted to do the PSA real quick. But let's get into it. Okay, let's get into it. Which is Phil Spencer's comments on Redfall being disappointing and all the other blah 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 they were talking about. I know, Everborn, you had a lot to say about this, so you get it started. my first question to you regarding this is, was this too much or was this necessary?
I think it was like a full kind of damage control thing, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, someone
maybe
needed
it was
to
in a
step
bad
out,
way.
someone needed to speak for it.
Okay.
And here's the thing, and I see a lot of people saying this is not Phil's fault.
Oh, and by the way, we see you, Rog Ally,
Bethesda.
sitting in the backhand of Mr. Phil Spencer. We see that. You saw that, right? Right in the top corner. The Rog Ally. It's just right there, just poking its eyeballs.
For the
hold on a
pre-orders.
second, Kay. I'm getting a word from the Valve
Here we go. Yeah.
marketing
Yeah, what are they
executive.
saying?
He said that like you didn't have to point that out and stop talking about that. That's what he just told me. Is that it? Is that
otherwise,
Oh,
I
and
may not
the
collect my
check
check.
the check is already in transit, but they can cancel
At
before it
any
gets
time.
there. Just letting you know.
Understood.
Anytime,
Oh, okay.
anytime.
Okay. You mean? All right. So let me rephrase that. You see the Steam Deck clone back there, right? The Steam Deck clone. Yeah. That's what.
Better. He says better, much
better, right?
Good job.
Better. Okay. Cool. Go ahead, Evan boy. What was your initial take on all this? Yes.
I do think that someone needed to step out, and I think it is best that it is him, right? Because I see a lot of people trying to say this is not his fault, but at the end of the day, like the captain goes down with the ship.
That's right. The buck stops with you. Absolutely.
And we can say, well, he didn't know, and they did their own thing, and they didn't report up, but it's your job to know.
Yeah.
Like that's your job. Right. So it like this is what he was supposed to do. And I do understand the people that are just like, how many times are we going to hear Phil say, we hear you, we understand the expectations, we didn't meet it. And these are people that just ride out no matter what. And then they keep, because like, so imagine somebody cheats on you and then they do it again and again, and then you just keep hearing them say, I'm sorry. At a certain point, I mean, it should be the first time where you say,
baby,
no.
it ain't gonna happen no more. Baby, I promise you. This is the last time, baby. My hand accidentally touched the booty. I'm sorry. It's not gonna happen anymore.
Right.
Mea culpa for
I
the
slipped
umpteenth
and
time.
fell right in.
I slipped and fell right onto the booty. Forgive me.
Right. So this is the thing. I understand why people are upset, and I do have some smoke because I do think there are people that are riding the algorithm right now because it's the hot thing to throw your 2 cents in and get your lumps in. But we'll save that rant for a little bit later. Okay. But I do think it's absolutely right and fair that he should have come out there. And even if it is a Bethesda thing, even if it's a limited integration thing, even if it is a people that should be fired that did mock reviews, even if it is Arcane Austin didn't signal things earlier, even if it's all of that, it still comes back down to Phil Spencer for not having the tools in place to make sure that these kind of things don't happen.
Absolutely. There is definitely smoke for them. I just think that they probably the folks that are out there giving them smoke are using the wrong talking points to do so, and as such, it's muddying the message. Right? What you're describing there, absolutely. All those I didn't know. That's your problem. You should have known. You should have spent the time. You should have, that's where the smoke is absolutely righteous. Whether it's the different technology used or whatever, that's all water under the technical bridge that your consumer base should not care about, right? It is now, whether they were first party a week ago or a month ago or 3 years ago, and a game takes 6 years, doesn't matter, right? You should do your best to button it up so that when you do use them as marketing fodder, which you did, right, you show your best foot forward. If you don't, the smoke is absolutely righteous. I completely agree. Mr. Slomo Backslap, what's your take initially? Like, what was your initial takeaway when you saw this? You thought this was okay, Phil, he came out, he did what he was supposed to do, or it's like, come on now, not once again, Mr. Mea Culpa, Mr. Hat in Hand, shut your mouth and get back to work. What were your thoughts?
I think that I would say my first thought was, wow, he really does listen to what we say in this community. That was my first thought, because a lot of the things that he was speaking of in regards to the community's response to the fact that he's saying this once again, him saying, "Hey, you don't have to trust me about these games. Just trust when the game when you get your hands on the controller and play the game. Because me saying like things are looking good for these games doesn't mean anything at this point." Like, that's again things that people are saying in the community. So definitely, if anyone is thinking like, man, they don't care about what we say, they don't care about, like, they're listening. Clearly, if Sony isn't listening, if Nintendo's not listening, we know that Xbox is definitely listening to everything that we say out here. Now, that all that said, yeah, Phil, I don't care, because I've heard you say very similar words about Crackdown 3. I've heard you say very similar words about Halo Infinite, and now here we are with Redfall, and the process is still broken. And so, honestly, like, my response to like my reaction to the video was, yeah, okay, because it's I
have to throw out just a little bit of slander. Just a little bit. Forgive me, just a little bit of slander. We have Gaz in here, Mr. Septic Sauce himself. He says if he was the ruler and controller of Sony, he would rule with an iron fist. Well, of Microsoft, he'd rule with an iron fist. Halo would be a 90 meta. Redfall would be scrapped. Alana Pierce would be his wife. Boy. And Jim Ryan would be MIA. Welcome, good sir. Welcome. Absolutely. I'm sorry, I had to put that.
The head of Xbox or a dictator?
The head of Xbox. Yeah. Okay, sir. Good job. Go ahead, Slomo. What we say?
I made a video about this, and I knew.
Speak to your video.
I did.
Speak on it.
I was told by my buddy Forte that my video was going to be problematic. Okay. Based off of the thumbnail alone, the thumbnail says the problem with Xbox, and I feel the video conveys my thoughts on this fairly. Maybe some people may feel differently, but I brought up 3 points in regards to this interview, and those 3 points are the internal process, mock reviews, and Phil Spencer himself. Now, I heard
was hashtag fire Phil, Slomo. I'm just going to
and
17 minutes, and that's all I heard.
See, and that's what a lot of people are going to hear, even though I didn't necessarily say he had to go. I said there are options here, but like I if anything, I could have conveyed more why I felt that, like, I don't believe Phil was the guy to fix these issues, because as you mentioned before, we talked about the analogy of the cheating spouse. Once you are always hearing, we're going to do better, we're going to fix this issue, but then the issue keeps arising, then you're just old, like, right? You just stop believing. It gets too old. I don't believe that you're going to, you may have the intention right now to fix it, but you don't have the capability to actually fix this problem. So my analogy, my sports analogy that Everborn brought up, that most people in the comment section thought was a good analogy. So forget Everborn. Anyway,
but I don't like sports, so
it probably went over your head. But my analogy was, I used the Golden State Warriors as an analogy, and I said that the Golden State Warriors, if you're an NBA fan, you knew back in the day they were been trash for decades. Okay, they hired Mark Jackson, the guy. Drafted the right players. He drafted Steph Curry. He drafted Draymond Green. He drafted the right players. He taught them how to play ball as a team. He taught them to play hard. But every time they would get in the playoffs, they would lose. 3 years in a row, getting into the playoffs, all this talent, they lost. Management fired Mark Jackson and brought in Steve Kerr, who in the playoffs coached way better than Mark Jackson, took the same group of talent, 4 championships later, right? What I'm saying, what I used in that analogy, what I'm trying to convey is that Phil Spencer has done great things for Xbox.
So what you're saying is he's kind of Moses. He may not be the one to lead you to the promised land.
Yes, he may not be he is the guy.
He may be the one to split the Red Sea, but he may not be the one to walk you through that Red Sea to get to the other side.
Right. He has you have to give him credit for what he has done for Xbox, keeping the brand going, and the work even in situations that Donnie D created that wasn't his, keeping it going with no budget, taking it to the point where now he has like 20 plus studios. Their brand is flourishing all over the place. That's great. But when it comes to great games, system seller games, the games that are of a high level quality of what your comparators are doing at Sony and Nintendo, he may not be the guy that's capable of creating that. So it's like, do you keep him there because of what he did or what he can continue to do going forward? Because if not, if you're just going to be stagnant or it's going to depreciate over time, you need to start making changes. So
and
what
Enzo
I'm saying
says
is,
you're wrong, Slomo. He says you're wrong.
That's fine. And you know, hey, you know, Phil Spencer once said the single player games don't make money. He was wrong. So look, everybody can be wrong sometimes. I'm not wrong right now though. But anyway, I what I'm recommending is that one or two things happen. Even though I know that nothing really would change, but this like either elevate someone to a role that's where they can actually handle the game content management of things separate from Phil, or you get someone that actually puts the focus on making that happen. And that like there has to be a change in the process, the internal process. He admitted is broken, but you can't be. You admit it's broken, and you want us to. You're going to tell us you're going to fix it, but this is years upon years of saying it's broken, but you haven't fixed it yet. At what point do you start saying?
Z Black Rider says Slomo drinks from a well. I don't understand what that's supposed to be. Like, you know what? Like, does he drink from a well and that makes him ridiculous, or like I don't understand?
Z Black Rider is my sock account. No,
Z Black Rider drinks from Phil Spencer's toilet.
All right.
Hey, so you want to go? We can go.
Okay.
Man,
I'm just waiting for you to. I'm waiting for you to make your point, Slomo.
I got more bullets in the chamber than you do, Z Black Rider. Okay?
Chat who disagrees with Slomo, I got y'all. Don't worry. Just let Slomo make his point.
Okay, he drinks from a well. I'm just wondering what that is. Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Go ahead, finish your point.
My point prior to that was I brought up the internal process being broken. What is that internal process? Why is it still broken? How come you still can't fix it? I brought up mock reviews. The fact that your mock reviews were, you said double digits higher than what it turned out to be.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy to me.
How in the world can you actually?
I mean, you hired
so wrong about this game.
You guys hired you poached the video person from IGN, right? Tina Amini, who's now working for you guys, doing great work, right? Like you poached great talent from them. Why did you not poach reviewers from them as well? Because clearly you need some critical eyes here.
Yeah, they gotta replace that entire team. They're contractors. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Replace them. They do not have an idea of what the overall gaming community expects of what a level of quality is. And furthermore, how come you? Because these guys are gamers, right? We know Phil Spencer's gamer tag. We don't know Doug Bowser's Switch social security number. We don't know Jim Ryan's PSN ID, but we know Phil Spencer is P3.
Absolutely.
You're a gamer, bro. How come you couldn't play this game and say, yo, what was that mock review saying? This ain't it.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I know.
Like, not just him as a game. They're all gamers. Like, you telling me y'all sat down, was like, well, the mock review said it would be an 82, so we think it's going to be an 82. Bruh, did it play like an 82?
On that, I have no reason to there's no potential excuse for why you can't grab a build, play it yourself, especially considering the fact that this is a game that you've heard a lot about because one avenue of your organization is marketing it to hilt. You didn't bother to sit down, play it for a little bit to see how you feel about it. That is very surprising.
The person who should have been on Kind of Funny is who did that mock review. That's who I want to be. That's who I want to be.
We need to know who does the mock reviews. We need to know who does the mock reviews. Absolutely.
I need to know. Do you have hands and thumbs?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
who did you play this game with? You know that needs to happen. And just last thing, furthermore, they also didn't know what Halo Infinite looked like the first time they showed that gameplay.
Yeah.
And they were shocked at our response
It's just
to
so
that
weird,
gameplay.
man.
How are you shocked by
That's
that?
so weird. That's just so weird. On that, there's just no way of giving them a pass on that. It's just weird. Like, how could you play this and not think, okay, we have a problem? Like, what is going on here? Absolutely. Oh, I see John Wolf in here with a $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. He is in, I think, South Korea right now. Yeah. I hope you're having a great vacation, sir. Yeah. He says, good morning, friends. Phil is the right leader for Xbox, but he needs a Kevin Feige-like person to shepherd all of his IPs and games under Xbox. Absolutely. I agree.
And I made that suggestion too in my video. Maybe I even said maybe Matt Booty needs to be elevated to that kind of role where he's not like just in charge of first party under Phil Spencer, but he's elevated to a separate role where that literally is like his job is quality assurance of the brand, making sure that the content is that they are kicking out system seller games.
They need
games
a pit bull that does not show up on camera. A pit bull that can be in the background that does not need the PR.
Matt barely shows up on camera anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But they need someone that does that. Someone that will actually like. You don't need people to sell their PS5s to play Starfield, but the fact that you make sure that when Starfield comes out, people are like, man.
So to your point,
I might need to go ahead and pick up an Xbox too.
To your point on that,
you know, like that's what needs to happen.
Like a good cop, bad cop scenario where. Phil is doing all the smiles and the kumbaya, but internally, you know that there's a layer to get to Phil. And that layer is somebody who looks out for quality and excellence and those things.
It's an assassin. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like someone that when your game isn't meeting measurables and not hitting deadlines, that director went to a meeting and you ain't see him no more. Not that he dead, but like he just don't work at Microsoft no more. Right. Now you got someone else in place.
And this is the person who Phil meets with to come back, and he by the hook or by the crook, he makes sure he's giving Phil good news. Right? So however that has to get done, and Phil, again, Phil's role is very important as being on the board and him being elevated to that space, because there is a thing with the size of a company like Microsoft is understanding the politics of the company and what they're focused on and how you can convince the board that they should be investing in this area or that. And Phil can do that, and that's not something anyone can do, even if they are well skilled in content delivery. I think the issue is having someone there on that quality control and messaging side while Phil can do what he's great at, right? Do you understand Phil got them to spend more on gaming than they spend on anything else in the history of the company? And this is a division that you hear these armchair pundits saying Microsoft wants to get rid of, which I do find hilarious. So Phil is the guy. Listen, if I'm Phil, I'm going to Satya and I'm saying, listen, I need you to order up a Brinks truck and I need you to drive to Strauss Zelnick's house and I need you to tell him to come in here and be my second in command. And so Strauss Zelnick, like Pete Hines and Matt Booty will report to Strauss and Strauss will report to Phil.
You think Strauss can be that pit bull they need?
You can ever get Strauss to leave where he's going.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
You can never get him to leave.
Like Strauss is the Phil Spencer of his organization. You're not gonna get him to be underneath Phil Spencer unless you're paying him like Brinks truck level money, which they probably can't afford for a role.
I did say a Brinks truck, didn't I?
But how about this? Phil goes to Strauss. Hey Strauss, I need to know which of your producers under you is most like you. And I know I'm about to poach him, but look, I need somebody that's like you, man. And hey, look, if you need me to scratch your back in some way, hey, you know, put a little something, and put one of your little trash remasters in Game Pass for no extra additional charge. We can do that. But give me somebody that does what you do and gets the same results that you get from your.
Wait, let me throw a bomb into the conversation.
Okay.
Could that person be Bobby Kotick?
Oh Lord! Oh, don't do that.
No,
don't do that.
Stop. No,
what are we doing?
No,
don't do that.
take that bomb,
Put it back in your pocket. Save it for another day.
put it back in your pocket.
It's too late.
Nope.
It's too late. The pin is already pulled.
Put the pin back in, sir.
Hold on to the grenade. Put the pin back in the grenade and let go of it.
Let it go of it somewhere else.
Bobby
Not here.
can't be a part of any future plans whatsoever.
Nope, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Especially now that we're not sure where the ABK deal will fall. I don't think Bobby will be part of anything unless they somehow put a rabbit out of the hat. But that's another conversation altogether. We have Buck.
If that
once again
ABK
in
deal
here.
doesn't go through, Bobby might not be a part of ABK. But we'll see.
Exactly. We have Buck once again in here with a $5 super chat saying Phil played 233 hours of Vampire Survivors in 2022. He only needed to play 3 hours of Redfall to see the trash. Head of Xbox should play all early builds first.
Thank you, Buck.
It's a little
To get
slanderous
your
for the
mock
Saturday
reviews,
morning, but I think he has a point.
Reviewer, Phil Spencer, the gamer. Thank you, man.
Absolutely,
3 hours, and he would have told him we ain't releasing this like this. No, me not.
And
I don't care if it's supposed to come out in 3 weeks. Delay. Do what you got.
We also have Voidlock in here with a $5 super chat saying, "Let's not act like PlayStation Let's not act like PlayStation has had more bad games than Xbox in the new generation. Babylon's Fall, Destruction's All Stars, Horizon Forbidden West looked great, but unplayable." Well, I don't know about all that. Babylon's Fall, I hear
is not
you.
their game.
Yeah, that's also not their game.
That's not
Yes.
a first-party game, though.
Neither is
Redfall's a
Destruction All
first-party
Stars.
game. Destruction also not a first-party game.
The only
And
one you
Horizon
can give
Forbidden
him
West-
smoke was Horizon, and some people like it, some people don't, but they
Okay.
kind of
was
they did make
playable.
their money out of it.
I mean,
Here's,
it's boring, and if you're saying it's unplayable
here
because
we
it
go.
puts you to sleep,
Liquid Nitro. Go ahead.
then absolutely I agree with you.
So-
It's unplayable because I fall asleep every time I play it. But if it actually play it from beginning to end and completion, no, it's a
It
game
does.
that
It is
actually
playable. Yeah, go ahead,
does
Everborn.
that.
So I'm just saying. So here's the thing: we're not talking about PlayStation right now. We're talking
No.
about Xbox. So
Sure,
whatever
yeah,
PlayStation did is on PlayStation.
Hold those whataboutisms.
That being said,
Hold those what about it?
we say that they are supposed to deliver on quality. If we look at the Metacritic scores of what they have delivered, they've by and large been in the 80s or the mid 80s, which is where you want to be. Now, there's nothing big AAA in the 90s, but when they did release Halo, that was an 87, and had they kept up with the content and all that stuff,
It probably would have still continued
people
to be
wouldn't look
good.
at Halo the way it is right now.
True.
And they did release kind of a AAA Miles Morales style of thing with Gears Hive Busters, right?
Barely
If they
anybody
package
played.
that alone, what'd you say?
That barely anybody played apparently.
Exactly, because they should have packaged it by itself.
Yeah, I thought the same. I thought they should have made a Miles Morales out of it. Yep.
You could boot
Well,
Hive
that's-
Busters up and get a diamond achievement right now.
Oh,
Well, no.
that's terrible.
Well, I want to be clear. There's actually. Wait a minute. We should be clear about that though, because you can actually test this.
Okay.
There was, because I played that on day one and I completed it, and I can show you that I completed all 6 missions. I do not have the achievement for beating it right now.
Yeah,
There's something
there was a
broken
bug.
with popping
Yes,
the achievement.
there was some bugs.
A
at
lot
the
of people
beginning.
played
Yeah.
it and didn't get that. So I don't know if that's indicative of how.
Well,
Yeah, there was a bug.
I was getting diamond achievements for getting to the second area. So that's why I mean and I also believe I don't have the achievement for completing the whole thing too, even though I have
you
like
completed
I have like video
And I
evidence
mean,
to complete
since that time, they have put many patches into it. So maybe if you go there now, it will correct it. But at the beginning, Everborn does have a point that not all the achievements were popping. Absolutely. Oh, we have Hargeechani in here
understandable.
with a $5 super chat saying, "Well, just saying, there are potentials there." They are potentially getting Bobby Kotick if they need someone who gets things done. Smiley face. Sure, but you want somebody who gets things done without that albatross around their neck. So that kind of tends
I also
to be.
don't want them covering up sexual abuse.
Exactly. And then
Can I
Hargeek
get
with
the
another
guy to get things
$5
done without that?
without that. Exactly. It's not like your pit bull has to come with baggage. Maybe pit bulls that are clean. We want clean pit bulls. Hargeek with another $5 super chat saying the aggregate meta for the first party games between PlayStation and Xbox are dead even, and PlayStation has released one more game than Xbox has. So that tells you something. When they do put their effort into it, it does seem to shine. It's just being that they are the second in that quote unquote high end console market. They're always being made to defend themselves, or as if they are so much lower.
It's because
than
their
the
bigger
market leader.
AAA games haven't come out yet. So
True.
because what we're counting in those numbers are the things like the Groundeds and the Pentiments and things like that.
The remaster of an already classic Age of Empires game, stuff like
right.
that.
So
absolutely.
Well, hold on. I mean, Sony has a lot of director's cuts in there too. That's
Absolutely,
counting
yes.
towards
They also
their
have a
score,
lot
so.
of remakes as well, so we can keep that.
But we also can't imagine Sony allowing one of their first-party studios
to release it like
say,
this. Yes.
To release a game, one of their games like the way Redfall was released.
Absolutely.
Like,
There's no
not
way
even
that
their
would happen.
core games.
Absolutely. I think it's just, I think what Hargeet is speaking to, which is the reaction that I had, which is
The sky is
I'm
not
very well on record with my smoke for Redfall and all the things that went wrong and that bother me to this moment.
Technically,
But
Forspoken is not their
the
first-party game. I'm sorry. The people are asking about Forspoken in the chat. That's not their first-party game.
So
No, that's not their. No, that's not.
right, but I don't really care about what PlayStation is.
That will
doing, 'cause,
eventually show up on Xbox.
Unlike,
Yes, at some
you know
point.
what? I'm not even going to say that. But I don't care. Let's just say when I say I don't care about what PlayStation is doing, I actually mean it. But anyway,
Well, let's steer the conversation back around to what we were discussing.
well, yes. The point that I'm making is there is a focus on quality deliverables, and we say that Phil can't do this and hasn't done that, but are we going to say that if when the games actually come out that were greenlit under Xbox tutelage from start to finish, this means the Hellblades, the Avoweds, the Motorsports, the whatever else they have coming in 2024, if those come out, and if Phil is to be believed, and I completely understand anyone that doesn't believe him, but if those come out and all it turns out is that all they needed was time, and they are what we expect them to be, are we going to say he's not the guy then? Are we going to say that, they can't deliver then? Because when they have delivered on their first party, Redfall aside, and again, the whole 343 debacle aside, when they have delivered at the quality we expect, which is 80s, whatever.
So to that point, and leaning back into the conversation that we've been having, they're talking, and I'll let you get your bars off, Slomo.
quick. No. I'm just about that last thing about Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite was not the quality that we expected because it didn't have content.
Sure. But
the meta is fine, but the meta doesn't tell the whole story. Because it had like 6 maps when it launched, and the desync in the multiplayer was terrible.
Well,
and
but
campaign was fire, though.
But Slomo,
that's half the game.
But Slomo, they're saying, Phil Spencer is saying, just because you make great games does not mean that it'll change the console market from one leader to the other. Even if the game comes out spick and span, perfect, not a single error, not a single bugs, game is perfect, plays well. If Starfield is an 11 out of 10, as he puts it, you will not see people sell their PlayStations in order to buy a hardware.
This is a whole other can
I
of worms.
disagree.
Slomo, you take this first. I'll go after you.
Okay.
Well,
this is
but
why I
hold
disagree.
on. Let me get the full context out before I get your take on it. And he says this because it is his estimation, right, and that's up for debate, that the Xbox One gen and the PS4 by extension was the first generation where your digital library matters, to the point where you as a consumer are now expecting that as you moving forward to the next gen and the next gen and the next gen, you're building a library and taking that with you. So even if the other platform has amazing experiences, you will be less likely to just throw your primary platform of choice away in favor of them because you're so invested in where you are now, based on how
Except that the
continue
PS3
on.
launched with backwards compatibility, and it didn't stop people from running over to the 360 when they had the games. But sorry, Slomo, go ahead.
Slomo,
Yeah,
go ahead and give your rebuttal. You know,
So,
even though Everborn has already sniped you to the charge, but continue, sir. Go ahead.
take all my talking points. No, look, I would say this, right? Are people going to sell their PlayStation 5s because Starfield is 11 out of 10? No, he's right. They're not going to do that.
Yes.
But even if they did do that, that's not going to change the fact that that's a sale that's already sold for PlayStation. So it doesn't matter. But what should matter is whether people are going to decide, I'm going to buy an Xbox as well.
Exactly.
That's what should matter.
Yeah.
And if Starfield is literally an 11 out of 10, it is a system selling, generation defining game. And I'm not saying it won't be or it will be, but if it is, there are people who only have a PlayStation. They're going to be like, damn, I'm buying the Xbox now. That's going to happen. We have seen it all throughout history. It doesn't matter about digital libraries that people don't play those games anyway. Oh, I bought this game digitally and I'm not even going to play. I just want to look at it installed on my hard drive. Nobody gives a you ain't playing that game, bro. People talk about digital libraries, but all they really care about is what's the next game coming out. So all of that is somewhat true and somewhat significant, but not like the full story. That's not going to stop. But digital libraries will stop somebody from playing Tears of the Kingdom if they don't have a Switch yet. If they see Tears of the Kingdom, like, man, that's Zelda now. Oh man,
I have nothing to say.
I'm gonna go ahead and
be
buy
quiet.
Look, when people, Spider-Man 2 is like levels above
Elden Zelda.
Say what?
Zelda.
Yeah. Look, Spider-Man 2 is levels above what the previous Spider-Man was, and you don't own a PlayStation. People gonna buy a PlayStation 4. It's about having great games, period. And I think, I saw him respond to MVG on Twitter, where MVG said that, like, basically, I think he said what Phil Spencer tried to say. Yeah, it's both, which is something that was missing from Phil Spencer's statement in the interview. And the reason why I think he's getting so much smoke is that he made it appear to some people that having great games doesn't matter.
People lack the nuance.
We're not trying to make great games. I think
he
that's
gives
what
you
the
1 and 3,
is.
doesn't give you 2, and people are like, "See, you forgot 2." Yes, that's implied.
Yeah,
that's implied.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that, like, is it?
It's implied. Come on. So are you on that train that he said it wrong and he shouldn't have said it that way? Because I understood what he was saying.
He should have phrased it better.
Okay,
he should have look. You understood what he was saying, but there's a lot of people who didn't. So whether he didn't mean it or not,
he should have thrown it better.
What's the statement? What's the implication? What is the PR statement that people are getting in their mind that great games don't matter? It doesn't, and then that's not even people who were listening to Pony Podcast. That's people who just saw the interview and got that implication. Period. So he should have his statement, even though clearly he wants great games. That he even responded to MVG and said, "That is true, absolutely true."
It seems
he wants
like
great games. He wants them to make great games. His statement was missing. That part was missing there. Go ahead.
It seems like to me. It seems that he's frustrated at all because that back and forth really spoke to the fact that he reads too much of the damn Twitter timeline. It seems that he was frustrated at people going, "Come on, man, release a great game."
You'll take celebrities over. Like, don't read the comments when you post, right?
Yes, it seems like he's been reading too much of his timeline. Yes, because it seems like he's overly frustrated at those that say, "Come on, all you had to do was release a good game, and you'll win all of this." And he's just sick and tired of people saying that, and he's trying to go, "Look, man, there's more to it than that. Calm yourself." That's literally what it seems like. But that doesn't mean.
I wish you would say that. I wish you would have said just that.
Yes.
And that'd be fine.
Yes.
There's more to it. Shut up.
Shut your mouth. That's right.
But here's the difference, though, right? Like when you hear a Strauss Zelnick speak,
you are on Strauss's.
Or you hear Bobby Case.
You love Strauss, man.
Wow.
Ooh, you gotta
man is the treasurer of the Zelnick Strauss Zelnick fan club.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Wait, I'm just saying when you hear Bobby K talk,
Everborn loves Strauss Zelnick more than Umbra loves Unreal Engine. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. Continue.
Okay, easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. I don't think
that's a lot of love.
You know, I told my wife, if you're not gonna love me like Umbra loves Unreal Engine 5, what are we doing here?
What are we doing?
Fantastic.
No. But my point is, when those guys speak, right, or even Jim Ryan, so Bobby K, Jim Ryan, Strauss Zelnick, when they're speaking, it's very purposeful.
Yes.
And you are hearing what they want you to hear. Right?
Yeah.
That's and Phil, I think he has to figure that out. Like, we can say you're coming from the heart, but you are running a multi-billion-dollar organization within a $2 trillion organization. Right? So you have to be better at your words, or just don't do these interviews.
Thank you. Thank
right?
you.
So that
you cannot convey that to the people correctly, where everyone gets clearly what you're saying. That's on you. You can't blame the receiver of it. Well, of course, I want us to make great games, but you had that part missing out of your statement. But of course, I mean it. Well, I mean, maybe everyone hasn't seen your 5,000 interviews that you do a week, Phil. Like, maybe they don't all know that. Like, you have to take that into account.
Now, to be fair, when I am speaking, because this is where you and I are gonna hit the fork in the road, Slomo. Like you and Kay hit the fork in the road earlier. In the same interview, he talked about being, and shout out to Parris in the chat. And
yeah, shout out to Parris in the chat. He's saying, so what we're saying is,
and first of all,
Phil is damage controlling. So basically, Phil is doomed if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. And I feel you, man. I'm trying to take it on good faith. And folks are saying I'm capping for Phil right now. You know, I'm trying to take it on good faith.
That. It's not that.
And by the way, Parris, I would love to get you on the show. Tell me how to contact you, good sir. I would love to have you on the show one day. Continue, Everborn Saga. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the thing is, and again, you do have to question, not you, Slomo, but the way that this is being talked about by a lot of people, and some people are doing it convenient. You got to question people's comprehension skills, right? In the same interview, he says he is emboldened by the fact that they feel like they're getting to the point where they can deliver the big games at quality every quarter, right? He knows that they have to ship those games. Everyone knows that they have to ship those kind of games. His words were unfortunate and easily taken out of context, but no one with two brain cells to rub together is going to think that they don't know that they have to ship good games. Exactly. He was just saying that's not the whole story. Enough.
Exactly.
And but again, it's his words. This is like you give someone the ammo to shoot you with, right?
Okay. Go ahead, finish. Go ahead.
So the way he worded it was unfortunate, and I think it would have been better for everybody if there was just a follow-up with saying, of course we have to ship those games, but saying that's not it in and of itself, and it's leaving it to people. But you know, maybe Phil figured people had common sense. I don't know. But
this is my point. I'm just under the assumption that people have common sense. Maybe I'm wrong there. Forgive me.
Well, let's give it a little bit of extra.
Common sense isn't common, and freedom isn't free.
Isn't free.
A little bit of extra layer of context.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think some people view good games differently than, say, great generation-defining system seller kind of games. Can we agree with that?
Sure.
There's a difference between, say, there's
a difference between
Horizon Zero Dawn,
Rush and Elden Ring.
Yes.
I get you.
So like Hi-Fi Rush, good game, absolutely good game. Elden Ring. Elden Ring was an exclusive for a particular platform.
Yes.
Genre-defining, selling systems. It doesn't matter whether you only have one platform you sell on or whether you sell on multiples. It's doing it. You're getting increased percentages in your shares and all of it, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I think when people see what Phil's later statement was in that interview compared to what everyone's talking about earlier, they're thinking that's different. They're thinking because those other games are quality, but they're not system seller quality, so to speak. So there's a different layer that it's not actually reaching. So like someone could say, you know, I think Avowed could be a good game, but I don't think Avowed is going to make people get up and buy an Xbox.
Okay.
Or Fable or Hellblade. Maybe that's their mindset of what those games are. They have the potential to be good games, but do they have the potential to be Elden Ring? Do they have the potential to be Tears of the Kingdom? Do they have the potential to be God of War 2018?
Yep.
Like it's a different level, and I think we can all admit Xbox internally, first party, have not delivered on the kind of system seller. I gotta play this game no matter which platform I'm currently on. I'm getting this Xbox kind of. They haven't internally delivered on that kind of game in a very, very long time. Right.
And also, I don't think it helps that they're
agree.
going to regulators and talking about how terrible they are for the last year and a half, and that's just in people's heads.
Yeah,
True.
true.
I hear your voice. Say again.
No, I said it doesn't help people's perception that they have been having to go to regulators for the last 18 months, telling them that they're terrible at their jobs.
Awful.
I don't think that
we
helps.
suck at this. We need ABK. We need the help.
And they have to say it. I get it. They're saying they gotta say it. But again, over and over again, you hear that, and then wait a minute,
ladies and gentlemen,
someone joined?
Boys and girls, we have Parris and Lily joining us. Absolute
Well,
honor to have
damn.
you on here, sir. Please, microphone check for us, would you?
How you guys doing?
Oh, fantastic. We hear you. We
What
hear
up?
you.
What up? What up? What up?
We
What up?
hear you. This is amazing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I appreciate you bringing me up. Hey, I listen to everything.
Oh, this is fantastic. This is great. This is great.
I was listening. I was listening to the conversation, so I figured,
Yes,
what the
sir.
hell? I heard a few things in there. I was like, you know what? Let me clear a couple things up and add my
And we
own
appreciate you coming up
perspective on
to
a
do
couple
so.
of that.
Please go ahead. Yes.
So first and foremost, that interview with Phil,
Mm-hmm.
we scheduled that weeks ago. It was not a damage control. Oh shit! Oh God, whoops! I don't know if we can curse on there.
Oh, no
But,
worries.
It wasn't
you
a
get
damage
one.
control.
PG-13. Go ahead.
No, but it wasn't a damage control. Oh, Redfall came out bad. We lost Activision deal. Let me come on and clean it up. Right? It was not one of those things. We scheduled that weeks ago, and I'll give you the full context.
Okay.
Because we've been talking Xbox for a while, for the simple fact that Phil has been on Kind of Funny a couple other times, but he had never been on the actual Xbox show. So we're like, you got to get him on the Xbox show. So that's why that went down. And the timing of it was going to be, hey, the showcase was coming up. We're obviously going to talk about that, kind of the future of Xbox, some of the idea at Xbox stuff that they were doing, good
So
stuff.
it was just
wasn't going to
serendipitous
be
that it happened to happen where
yeah.
this had hit. Okay. Understood.
But here's where I want to give Xbox and Phil credit. When the Activision thing got blocked, I was like, oh, we ain't doing this interview. They're gonna cancel this. That was my first thought.
I wouldn't have done it.
Nope.
I'd have been like, Parris, I'll catch you on the flip side.
I would, and I wouldn't have blamed them if they did, right? But no, it was still scheduled. I was like, okay, cool. Then obviously Redfall happened, and I'm like, they really not gonna come on now, right? I'm just assuming it's not gonna happen. Phil still came on. And you obviously saw the demeanor that Phil was in when he came in that interview.
Grumpy Phil.
And you can't blame him because as he said, I mean, it'd been obviously a rough few weeks. Obviously, there's just been a lot going on. But I felt he was very transparent and candid in his thoughts about things. And from our perspective, it was clear. Oh, here's the other thing. Xbox at no point told us, well, you can't ask him this, you can't ask him that. We could ask him whatever we want. So what you heard, especially Gary, because Gary don't care. Gary's gonna say what he wants.
He's
to say.
out there. He's gonna say what needs to be said. Absolutely.
Yeah, but we were free to ask whatever we wanted. I was laughing the day before the interview when we announced it, and everybody's like, "Y'all ain't gonna ask him nothing. It's gonna be a bunch of softball questions. You ain't gonna say anything." And I was like, "Okay, we'll see." But his demeanor obviously wasn't great. He said it himself. He was not in the greatest of moods during that interview. But I appreciate him still doing it, and it was our obligation to make sure that we asked him certain critical questions, and we knew we were on a tight timeline. So we didn't get to ask everything. We didn't get to follow up on everything, but I thought we got the important stuff in. He addressed Redfall. He started to address some of the internal processes of why that game was released.
I wish I could have expounded on that.
Exactly, and I agree.
Limited in time, yeah.
I agree. I wish I could have too. But to the last point, which I was like, Leia, bring me up. That's why I said it's almost a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario for him for the last statement, which everybody's running wild with.
Yep.
Again, my perception, I did not take it as, well, we'll never be able to compete, and it doesn't matter if the game's if Starfield's an 11 out of 10. I took it as Xbox One generation did so much damage because that was the start of the digital age with the digital libraries, that it is going to be very hard during this generation for them to magically just catch up just because they're putting out great games.
Yep.
And this is where I wish we had more time to follow up, because my assumption again would be he's going to say, no, we of course we got to make great games. It starts with that. You make great content. We're not abandoning the console users, but yeah, we are expanding into PC. We are expanding into cloud. We, you know, this Asus Ally thing, there's going to be a handheld component to it, things like that. In other words, because I think a lot of people forget this. This is not the first time that he said this. He said this back in 2020 when he was talking about our competition's not PlayStation.
Parris, they've been saying it. People are acting brand new right now.
I know. But remember when he said our competition's not PlayStation, Nintendo anymore. It's Amazon and Google.
Yep.
Their ambition is going beyond just the console. Just like he even talked about last year, I think it was with the Wall Street Journal or something like that, but he talked about with Game Pass, like Game Pass on the console has kind of reached a certain percentage of people that are actually going to subscribe to it. Their growth numbers are now you're starting to see it on the PC and outside of the console. And this is why they're trying to get Activision. They want King. They want the mobile market. They want to be able to create their own mobile app store. You know, there's obviously a lot of regulation going on now that Apple may be forced to put other app stores on the iPhone as an example. So they want to make sure that the Microsoft App Store is ready to go, be it on Android, iPhone, or whatever. And they want to cash in on those Candy Crush users. They want to get my wife. My wife don't play on the console. Guess what my wife plays? She plays on the mobile phone. That's what they're trying to do. Yep. But for the sake of this conversation, forget that. Let's talk about us that does play on console, that does play all these games. Of course, this is why I asked him the question, and this is why I had the list of games. It's like, you've announced all these games back in 2020, early 2021. Hell, even Hellblade 2 back in 2019. Where are they? Why don't we have them yet?
Yep.
And you could hear the frustration in his voice of, why don't we have them yet? He said it himself. I'm sick of talking about COVID as an excuse.
Yep.
We got to start shipping them. We got to start shipping them quality. And like he said, he knows what the roadmap is. He sees what's about to come out, which I'm sure we're going to get more information on during the showcase.
Yep.
But this Redfall thing has done more harm than good, clearly.
Yep.
In the sense that he just had to come out and say, I don't even expect you to believe what I say until you have the controller in your hands and you're experiencing this. But he can see what's about to happen. And I, on a personal level, go, okay, because I've been saying forever, 2023 is a year. If they don't do it in 2023, they're never going to do it, right? So I would assume moving forward, we're getting Starfield, we're getting Forza, probably Hellblade 2 this year, right? That seems pretty logical choice to assume. But they got to be quality. Starfield now. See, here's the thing with Redfall. I'm backtracking a little bit.
Yeah.
I said it on the show, and I've said it even before when we did our review. This game should have never come out this year. They should have just done an extended delay into 2024. Everybody would have been fussing, oh, what's going on? But they would have got over in a week or two, and it wouldn't have been this.
Added some cutscenes to the game.
This was worse off putting this game out in this state, because he even said Arcane did not live up to their own internal vision for it. Well, if that's the case, delay it.
So Parris, that was one of his answers that I didn't agree with, because you guys asked.
I didn't either.
Shout out to the interview and the hard questions that you guys asked, because you asked a lot of the questions that actually needed to be answered. It wasn't a plus. And shout out to you for coming here. And chat, we got Paris Lily here for you. Can we get more than 127 likes, please and thank you? Now, the reason I didn't agree with that, because he's sort of saying, well, if there are no game-breaking bugs, you should just put it out. Like that's ultimately kind of what his answer was, and I didn't think that was the right way to go, because like you said, has this release helped or hurt the brand? Has it helped or hurt Game Pass? right? And you know, a delay, everything's delayed, right? You delayed Starfield. We don't even have a date on Motorsport. Hopefully we'll get Hellblade this year. So the thing is, they can say, well, you know, we don't have game breaking bugs, but again, the damage this has done, was it worth it?
Yes.
So that's
They
question
did
one.
have a
And-
game breaking bug. The AI being broken
Yeah.
is game breaking.
Yeah, so
It's
literally
terrible. It is terrible.
So let me jump in with this scenario on that to what you just said and what Phil obviously said, and I'm with you. I don't agree with his answer on that, because it's not about just that one game. It's about the brand. You're doing damage to the brand more so than just individual game. And look at this scenario. They don't make not one change. That game ships in March of 2024, the same exact way as we just got it right now, right? But instead, yeah, sure, we'd have fussed a little bit right now that it got delayed again. But instead, you've now released Starfield. You've released Forza. You've released Hellblade 2. Maybe a couple other smaller titles from your internal studios get released during that time. Like maybe there's another Hi-Fi Rush out there that we don't know about.
So
and they all come in at
It doesn't become
quality.
just this narrative that you
Exactly.
can't
So
release.
now, so now it's, damn, Redfall wasn't that good. Yeah. Oh well, we already had these other great games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be this outrage right now when this is the first next gen only game, and you're charging me $70 for it. This is the first impression. So this was your first impression to say, hey, this is what our next gen looks like. It's unacceptable. Especially when you compare it to the competition, because I'll just take this one as an example. It wasn't the first, it was probably the second one, I think, that was next PS5 only. Ratchet and Clank. Compare Redfall to Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank is good, but it's not the greatest game. But damn, visually it looks amazing. It plays well. It is obviously doing something that you can't replicate on the PS4 with the SSD and switch between the worlds. That is a great representation of what next gen gaming could be on the PlayStation 5. Redfall, to me, comes off as a game that I should have gotten in the 360 era. And that's the problem. They should not have put this out right now, in my personal opinion.
Right,
it does more
because-
damage to the Xbox brand than it does about Red. It ain't even about Redfall. It's about the Xbox brand. And you would hope that people in a high enough authority, and obviously everything ends with Phil. He is the CEO of Xbox, so ultimately it is his responsibility. But you hope someone would step up and actually say that. That's what I don't get. That's what I would love to know, the true story behind all of this, why this game came out when it did, because there's no way this should have come out in this state.
It does feel like their eye was off the ball because they were focusing on, because like, how does it get here? Now my question to you, Parris, is twofold. One, do we need more Grumpy Phil? Does Grumpy Phil put the fire under the team to get things out of the door?
Here's my theory. I think Grumpy Phil, and I'm not saying it was calculated like it was an act or anything like that. I think he is genuinely upset and grumpy about what's going on. But I think from his point of view, doing it on this stage, knowing the headlines that it's going to make, because obviously we've seen all this doing, this is sending a message to everybody.
Yes.
Everybody in Xbox and
It's
Bethesda
dropping
and everywhere,
it's dropping
anything else.
the pitchforks, because it's like, oh, even he's upset. Because if he wasn't upset, then the pitchforks would be even more coming towards them. Now you see Grumpy Phil, you're like, okay, at least he understands where we're coming from. Let's be easy and see what he does. I agree that it's
can I
somewhat
address something
calculated. Please, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to address one person in the chat that keeps saying about the outrage. The outrage still would have been there for Redfall if it would have been delayed. Yeah, but the outrage would have been about Redfall, not Xbox.
Not about the Xbox
That's the difference.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think, well, I do agree that, like, it being the first $70 game, and also being only on, you know, the current gen, definitely exasperates like the issues with it being so bad. But I do think that just overall releasing a game in that state damages the brand on a base level, because this is a first party game. This is one of your games. I can't see, say, your competition releasing a game like that and it being from a first party. Like you couldn't see Guerrilla Games releasing a game that is literally with all of the issues. Forget the lack of a
I
performance mode,
mean,
but the
to be
multitude of issues that
fair,
the game has.
Slomo. To be
Oh,
fair,
you're gonna bring up
check-
Pokemon with
no,
Nintendo?
no. He said Guerrilla Games,
Okay.
and I'm saying to be fair, as a guy who has 200 plus hours in Forbidden West, I have documented many of bugs in that game. So they did actually kind of release it in a bad state.
There's love. The Forbidden West is no.
I almost
no
lost my
way
100-hour
as
save
bad
in that
as
game.
Redfall is.
You know, there are certain bugs in that
but
game.
here's
that's
the
just
AI
as
work.
bad.
But
I
here's
mean,
the
like,
difference,
what I'm
though.
saying is that, like, does the AI work? Did they have a
Yes,
performance mode
true,
when it
true,
came out?
true,
You know,
true.
like
That
these
is
are
it.
these
That
are
is
things
true.
that like
Yeah.
like that they should have had. Like Phil talked about the internal process, and I want to know what that internal process is. Like, does it need to be completely overhauled? Because how do you know to tell Arcane Austin stop working on the PS5 version of the game, but then not know, hey, you know, we've already gone out on record. Aaron Greenberg's gone out and said that like the standard for us is 60 frames per second. This is what we expect from the console. Now that you're making it only on this console, on PC and mobile, we need to make sure that you're doing, you know, go down the checklist of things that we need to make sure that you're going to have in this game. And if you don't have those things in this game, then we can talk about get the roadmap of getting that done. We can get the project managers in, figure out when that can happen. And then when it's appropriate to show the game and reveal it, then we can reveal it and know exactly when it's going to come out. But like, because none of that happened, then you end up, you're showing it. One more thing at the end with this huge CG trailer that is not reflected in the game whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you think it's going to be measuring up, you know, to what your standards are, but then finding out, yes, Phil said we should have known this last fall that it didn't have 60 frames per second. Then we could have got it implemented if we knew last fall. I'm like, man, you didn't know last fall it wasn't going to be 60 FPS.
So Slomo, and I'm gonna go ahead.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm looking at your chat and it's confusing me because what are the, and I'll just use this one. What are the dumb Xbox parroting from the ponies? I hate the term. I think it's silly, but
Yeah.
these are real concerns that people are saying. I don't think this is some narrative where we're just over exaggerating. When you have the CEO of Xbox also echoing the same exact concerns, that's real. He said that it was unfortunate that Redfall came out at 30 and they had to take the hit for it. So it wasn't this outrage about it, right? He's the one letting you know that it is unacceptable that they went an entire calendar year without a major release in 2022. And then the first release that you come with now is severely underperforming. Now, there are clearly internal processes as to why that happened. And he touched on some of them. We'll obviously never know the true tale of the tape. But from the outside looking in, there does have to be a question. Why was Arcane Austin not reaching out earlier, asking for more resources and assistance if they weren't reaching their goals? Why is it that last minute, the Coalition and Rare had to come in there and try and help them because they had experience with Unreal Engine? These are things like that. Why is it that he kind of explained it that Starfield wasn't as far along in the process, so they were able to get more resources in there to help them deliver it. But why wasn't that happening with Arcane Austin? And I understand he said they were further in development, but still, I get big acquisition. You want to be more hands off. You want to allow them to have more independence in what they're doing. But at certain levels of this, and this is from Bethesda going all the way up to Phil, certain people clearly were not communicating. And that seems to be the biggest problem that they're having. They're not communicating internally. And I get it's a big organization and there's different processes coming from Bethesda into Microsoft that needs to be aligned. But this is a big game. Like to the point before, you're the one that put it at the end of your showcase in 2021.
You're the one that telegraphed
You
it.
delayed
They
it.
said they were
delayed it a
starting
year.
$70 games with Starfield. They said they were starting with this. So Parris, to your point, right? The issue there, and I do think some people are riding the negativity wave because you have a lot of people that were very happy with the direction of Xbox and what they've delivered this year, from Hi-Fi Rush to Ghostwire and all the big things that have come into Game Pass, and they were happy. And so now Redfall comes out and now they're like, oh my God, is the platform going to survive? So that's the weird part that I think that I think was being spoken to in the chat, right? And that's not to say people don't have a reason to be concerned about this, and that it's not a huge black eye, but it does feel like some people are going overboard. That being said, what you described really tells me, right? If you, Xbox, who, like you guys said, you at Xbox said that this game would be $70, right? You at Xbox are doing Arby's deals. I'm going to keep bringing up Arby's. You at Xbox are doing the one more thing. You at Xbox are launching it with a CG trailer. You at Xbox are doing custom consoles. You at Xbox are on a coordinated social media front where everybody's changing their PFPs. Should there have been no one on the Xbox side to say we're going to do weekly builds to make sure this thing represents our name? Like this it's like one of those things that should have been obvious. And what it speaks to me is that they somewhat knew and didn't care because they thought that the Activision deal would not be blocked from the CMA in the way that it was.
I have to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I have to interrupt you. I don't write any checks for anything. I give my honest. I'm just looking at your chat, and maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I just give my honest opinion.
Some folks
like,
come in here with the slander. Don't worry about them. Just continue.
Yeah, that's just weirdo stuff to me. It's like, come on now.
Absolutely.
I apologize.
He drinks from Phil Spencer's toilet bowl. Don't worry about it.
Stop it. Go ahead, Everborn. You were making a point.
So my point is, because a lot of the people that are super upset right now, if this was not coupled with that CMA block, I promise you, Parris and everybody, they would have been like, listen, we getting Diablo next month in Game Pass, right? Yeah. They would have let this go. And it feels to me like these glaring things that you just feel like there's no way you could not know these things says that they just probably figured, let's put it out because, the focus is Activision and people will be worried about that. And that leads me to another question is, if Activision does go through, how focused on the core gamer will they be?
So you're framing this by saying that the cause of them losing focus here is ABK. So by that very nature, if and when this thing goes through, will this then push them to a whole different direction where they stop focusing on the core gamer completely in favor of ABK? Is that what you're saying?
Is that a possibility? Yes, that's the question I'm asking. I'm not making that statement.
But that assumes that ABK was the direct reason why they took their eye off the ball here, and I don't think that's necessarily 1 + 1 = 2 there. I think
it was.
You think that if ABK was not a factor in this equation, that Redfall would have released in a better situation?
I think someone would have been able to bubble this up to the top faster if they.
I disagree.
Okay. Yeah, I disagree.
I definitely disagree on that. I don't think that has any, because those are completely different. You're talking lawyers and all that are worrying about that. That's not the people actually making the games that are in that cycle that should be reporting on this, in that quality control cycle that should be working on that would be reporting that up. So that I will respectfully push back and say I don't think that is the issue. I think it's an internal communication process overall, because you're bringing in Bethesda, who doesn't already align with whatever processes they have at Xbox Game Studios, and you're trying to merge that in while also at the same time shipping this big AAA game. Yeah. But I think what I'm trying to, here's what I think will come out of this. Clearly, they're going to do a complete review and audit of these processes, right? Especially with Bethesda. I think you will see Xbox be more hands-on with Bethesda moving forward. I don't think you can not be. But at the same time, that maybe this is a one-off. Hi-Fi Rush obviously didn't have this problem.
Sure.
They were fine. So
but
it's
Hi-Fi
not
Rush,
every single game that's an issue.
You can argue that Hi-Fi Rush, the reason they didn't have that problem is because none of us knew about it. They were allowed to finish, in peace and tranquility and release when they thought they were ready, rather than, hey, people know it's coming, so you better have it ready by this time. You know what I mean?
But see, that's where again I come and we'll never know the real answer to that. To your point.
Yeah.
But that's go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Did anyone ever tell Harvey Smith, let's just say him, because he's the head of the Arcane Austin, you have to release it now. You don't get any more time. Was that ever said? Or did Arcane Austin go, yep, we're ready, put it out?
We're ready. Oh,
we'll never know that. But that's kind of
it's
another
not the
thing
latter.
right there. Yeah.
I hope it's
But
not
I mean,
the latter.
to you guys' point, and when it comes to protecting the brand and quality assurance, of course, you got your hi-fi rushes where they had very little input on it, and it turned out great. It was stealth launch. It's an awesome game. People enjoy it. You're going to get that from Xbox Game Studios as well. I don't think they ever really need to check too much on Double Fine and Obsidian, because you know what you're getting from them. These are veteran developers. They got a rock solid culture internally. They know what they need to do to make sure their games are of a certain level of quality, and you know what to expect from them. But when it comes to quality assurance, it's making sure before it comes out that you don't get a Redfall. So it's like when that might come to, hey, with Compulsion, they're not as established as Double Fine. We need to check on them a little bit more. We might need to fly out to wherever the heck Compulsion is and go look
Texas,
at it hand
Austin.
in hand. Like, the initiative, right? Just because that Obsidian is great, and they got there are people at the initiative that are just as established and experienced as Obsidian is. The initiative is a brand new studio that has an unestablished culture. They haven't quite figured that all out yet. You probably should have paid more attention, and then you wouldn't get the exposés that come out talking about all the issues, and then half the staff that you hired are leaving.
Well, Slomo though, Arcane is an established studio, right? You would assume. Right,
but they're also making a game that's out of their wheelhouse.
Sure. Because for me,
but
right?
the fact is that it still got to the point where you knew what the game was before it came out, and you still said, "Go ahead and release it." Because they may say, "Hey, our mock reviews, which every single one of them needs to be replaced, but the mock reviews we got were double digits higher than what the actual what it turned out to be." But you also didn't release review codes until 48 hours before the game came out. You also didn't release the embargo until daggone near the 11th hour. These are all behaviors of someone that knows something's coming in hot, and it's not going to be received too well. So you had an idea, mock review or not, what you were getting from the reception of this game before it happened. You didn't have to release it then.
So, gentlemen, let me catch up on 2 super chats, and I will steer the question in one last direction because we're heading towards the end of our show. But I think this last piece will be interesting. But let's catch up on a couple super chats real quick first. First, we have Buck with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Buck, for your continued support. He says, the last GTA release was 360. GTA Remaster, Strauss who? I think he was talking to us when we were having that conversation.
That's from an earlier thing.
Yes,
So I was saying that Phil needs a second in command, and they should get Strauss, whatever it costs.
Strauss Zelnick, no matter what it costs, yes. And I see Sycamore in here with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Sycamore, for being here. He says, this is the same Phil who came out and capped for God of War as the most anticipated game, as his most anticipated game. And then he looks at Redfall and said, it's good enough for his core Xbox fans. Wow. That's what he's saying. So clearly, our chat is a little slanderous this morning. They are feeling a little bit, I would say, betrayed by Xbox and releasing the quality they have. But I want to change the conversation.
What if the mock reviews for Redfall were the same score as God of War Ragnarok for their mock reviews?
Well, then you need to have the person who's doing their mock reviews and really rethink the position that they've been put in, because clearly there's something wrong there. But I want to move the question, the conversation in a different direction, because Everborn has brought this up in a few instances, and I think I want to talk about it a little bit, which is folks are kind of bandwagoning a little bit with all of this, right? With Phil coming out, with Redfall being what it is, there's a lot of conversation about, is this is what we were expecting. Is this what we were expecting? Finally we sign up to Game Pass. They release one of the games that was promised, and this is what we're looking at. So it brings the question of value of Game Pass into question, right? And a lot of people have been talking about it.
Okay, I'll let you say it.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I know you want to. I know it's specifically irking you, so I want to talk about that real quick, right? So with this coming out, and shout out to Randall Thor 19 and all these, and Colt Eastwood, all these great content creators who have called into question, hey, if this is what Game Pass is supposed to offer us, and you wait, and you finally get this, right? Does this then speak badly to Game Pass as an offering? I saw, I think it was Push Square did an article that says, "Oh, we can now definitively say something."
Square, we're looking for.
Yeah. You know what I'm
Square,
saying?
We're looking
sure.
an opinion on.
They're saying something to the effect of, "Now we can say the PlayStation Premium is the best subscription service." Stuff like that is going on.
Can I address this?
Please,
can I address
please
this first?
address this question. And while you do, I will put on the screen all the games that are still potentially coming to Xbox. But continue. Yes.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, I obviously I'm pretty known as saying tongue in cheek, Xbox Game Pass is the best value in gaming, and I believed that for a while, and I still believe it because look, one bad game does not tank what the potential of the service is. And as you're putting up this list of games that I ran down the list directly to Phil Spencer himself. All those games come out and they're good. Who's complaining about Game Pass? That's the whole point. That now all of a sudden I'm literally playing Ravenlock right now through Game Pass. I didn't review it. I got it through Game Pass. That's the whole point. There's different genres, AAAs, all the way down, to the smallest indies that come through that service. That's why I say it's a great value, because my family, we take advantage of it. Me and my kids use it all the time. And again, if Starfield comes out good, we just had Minecraft Legends, we just had Hi-Fi Rush, you're going to get Hellblade 2, you're going to get Forza Motorsport in it, you're going to get Avowed in it, you're going to get Perfect Dark in it, you're going to get Fable in it. Hell, I'm just ripping this all off the top of my head. You're going to get that Contraband game in it. You're going to get what InXile's working on in it. You're going to get what Compulsion Games is working on in that service. All that is potentially happening within the next 3 years. All of those games potentially are coming out. How is that bad?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like it's worth addressing because a lot of folks are basically throwing the bathwater that is Game Pass away with the baby.
I'm sorry, I don't even interrupt you again.
Go ahead.
I don't even interrupt you again, but to a point in the chat, of course it's about consistency. That's why I said it directly to the CEO of Xbox this week. I said the same exact thing. You have to consistently start putting these games out. And he said, Matt Booty said it first, and then he just reiterated it this week. They're talking major release every quarter. That's the consistency that they want to hit with their releases. And he said he can see that they're about to get there. Now, deliver it. Period. That's all. Just deliver on your promises. If they deliver on their promises, no one's complaining.
Well, the quality has to hit too. So I guess that's the two-parter. Delivering
also, people will still
games
complain, but yes. Continue.
Well, if the games are awesome, what is there to complain about, really?
Have you been to Twitter?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Well, Twitter's not real. Let's be honest here. Twitter is not a representation of the majority of people that play games. It's a subset of people that want people to pay attention to them. So they will say the most outrageous things they can possibly think of to get you to pay attention to them. That's all that is. And look, I raise my hand. Obviously, I'm included because I'm on Twitter all the time too. So hey, there you go.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say the people that say the wild things, they're the ones who probably don't play the actual games. But
Everborn, go ahead and tell me, give me some of that rant. Give me some of that rant that you were giving me on the phone. You particularly have an irk with all these people who used to be Game Pass fans who are now basically advocating that we cancel our subscriptions. Is that the case?
Yeah. So again, I understand, right? I understand that people have been riding with Xbox off of the hope that they're gonna, these things, all the irons in the fire are at some point gonna come off the fire and turn into, a mallet or a blade or whatever. I'm using a
Yeah,
blacksmith.
keep going with that analogy, sir. Go ahead, keep
Analogy
going.
or whatever. So the thing is, and when they finally do, they deliver the first one, you think, and it doesn't hit, you think, well, was I waiting for nothing? I get that, right?
That's where a lot of the vitriol and anger is coming from, I think. Yeah, but continue.
Right. So that I understand. So I'm not saying people don't have a reason to be upset. But I'm talking about the people that in April, right? April 25th, before the news came in, the block that was heard around the world, everybody was all good, right? Like in December, you got High on Life, which a game that all these people said they loved High on Life. Turns out to be a pretty massive success, 7.5 million people. Boom. Right after December, they hit you with Hi-Fi Rush, and in Game Pass, they hit you with Monster Hunter Rise. In February, they hit you with Atomic Heart. In March, they hit you with Wolong. Everybody's talking about it. This is amazing. In April, you not only got Minecraft, you also got Ghostwire Tokyo, which is, again, an amazing game. And now we are seeing that Benedict Fox comes out. Not really a fan. Ravenlock, big fan, as well as Redfall. So my thing is, right, we can give them all the smoke for how the hell did this happen. But all these people they're going to sell Xbox now, fire Phil. These are people that were singing Phil's praises, that would jump in any space and jump in anybody's thread that said anything against Phil Spencer. And now because the algorithm is rewarding this sort of negative response and everybody feels like they have to add their 2 cents in and they got to get their licks in and they want to seem credible to people who are basically trolls on the other side that will never respect you anyway, but fine, try to prove something to them, right? Now we're hearing all this, is Game Pass worth it? You got to announce. You gave Tony Polanco crap a year ago when he said he was canceling his Game Pass subscription. Now you feel like you got to announce it now. Now we got to fire Phil, right? These are the things that I'm just like, are you actually upset, or do you feel like the group is saying you should be upset, so you have to go?
Z Black Rider is saying, please stop with the facts, Everborn. We don't appreciate you and all your facts on the ground right now. You need to stop with all the factual information. Not appreciated. Boxenberger in here with a 5.
Wait, before we do that though, Slow has to go.
Oh, Slow has to go.
So let's give Slomo an outro.
I got 10 minutes.
Sorry.
Okay. Let me read Boxenbergers and I'll let you out there, Slomo. Appreciate you being here. Boxenberger here with a €5 super chat. Thank you, sir. Saying, wanted to say Parris did a fantastic job with the Phil interview, and today's conversation here is awesome. Keep it up. Thank you, Boxenberger, and thank you, Parris, for being here. Yes, this is a great conversation, which I appreciate because there are lots of different opinions on the ground, and you coming here and laying it out and setting people straight, setting some of the narrative straight is very much appreciated. So, and also Aaron in here, not to be outdone with, what is it, 65 British krona? Swedish krona, forgive me. Says MS needs to take over. With a super chat. Thank you so much. Yeah, first super chat. Thank you, sir.
It's his first one. That's important.
It is his first one. Yes, absolutely. And we appreciate him here. He's a loyal fan. We always talk in the background. Thank you, man. He says Microsoft needs to take over the review process from Bethesda. Microsoft is always early, while Bethesda is always late. Also, shout out to Parris for the interview. Very good. Actually, that's an interesting thought process. We've talked about the limited integration and what that means and what that doesn't mean and all of that. We initially, some of us on this show, talked about when ZeniMax was first being acquired by Microsoft. We were like, hey, maybe now the marketing and messaging arm of Bethesda can influence Microsoft a little bit, because at the time Bethesda was doing so well in the marketing of their games versus how Microsoft was being perceived. with where we are now, are we still on that line of thinking, or do we think that the wrong one is taking the wrong influence from the other? I'll start with you, Parris. What do you think? Was there bad perception when the ZeniMax deal happened, that we were hoping for one to influence the other, or is this all par for the course in your opinion?
The irony out of all of this is the one thing that I wanted to come out of this with Xbox acquiring Bethesda was Bethesda get better quality control.
Yeah,
I mean, that was
absolutely.
the one thing I was looking for,
Absolutely.
because the reputation is bug Bethesda. So it was, all right, now they're going to get more, because remember last year Starfield and Redfall got delayed. We're like, okay, good. Now they're going to get more time. These games are going to come in bug free, because I still contend, if Bethesda was independent, Starfield and Redfall would have already been out. They'd been out last year.
Sure.
They would have put them out.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Fallout 76. I mean, that's obviously a prime example right now of a recent game. Wolfenstein Youngblood, which I believe Arcane worked on. Which,
Cole worked on that with
was another one. So, I mean, I've always liked Bethesda's marketing. I think Pete Hines is really good at what he does. So I was also hopeful that some of that would rub off into Xbox marketing as well. But the big thing was the quality control. Start releasing these games as bug free as you possibly can when they come out. And I'll just say this one thing before I be quiet. That is critical at this point. That is critical for Starfield. Critical that we don't have a bunch of cyberpunk memes and have it in that state when that game launches. They cannot repeat that with Starfield, or man, it's just going to do long-term damage to Xbox Game Studios if they do.
So question on that front, Parris. And I know Phil said that they would be clear in the June showcase about 60 or 30, but where does your gut tell you Starfield is going to be?
My gut says 60. It does. My gut does say that, because I think at this point, man, at this point, if they knew it was going to be 30, I get they got the Starfield Direct. To say that 2 months, it's basically Redfall all over again. To say that 30 or 2 months before it comes out,
Painful,
it's not good.
right? Yeah.
I think they know. And Mike, the way Mike asked him, Phil obviously didn't have to be definitive, and I don't think he would have been anyways, but he did acknowledge, hey, they will let us know.
Yeah, he acknowledged that they'll be definitive about which way it falls, right? Not acknowledging actually that it will be 60 or 30. They just he acknowledged that they will be definitive in where it falls.
It's also important that Phil pointed out that they had engaged with Bethesda earlier in the process, and he specifically said he had the ATG team swarm, right? So if they're swarming on that and they can't get it to 60, oh boy.
Yeah, right? Then that's another. See, here's the thing that, and I was pretty harsh about this when the news initially broke about Redfall being 30 frames. The Xbox Series X is touted as the world's most powerful console. Yeah. If the quote-unquote world's most powerful console, which is going to be your flagship game for this year, cannot have a performance mode at a minimum that does 60 frames per second, that is a problem. And again, it's perception. There might be engine issues. There's other things on why it may not be doing this, but perception is reality. And the perception is you're charging me $500 for this console and it can't do 60 frames per second when, take it back a few years, you promise that's the standard now.
Slomo
backslap. So it'd be a problem.
Before you leave us, because I know you have to go, let's get your final take on this, right? So where do you fall here? After all the consternation, all the back and forth, people are now back on that train of, well, maybe Game Pass isn't the deal or the value we thought, because they're releasing mid games in there.
Fraud.
What are your thoughts?
Sorry.
What's your thoughts?
Okay, so for me, I'm still sub to Game Pass. I use it with my son. My son uses Game Pass far more than I do, but I do play games through Game Pass. And it's a fine service. I'm still sub to it. That said, I would pump the brakes on automatically assuming why people are saying the things that they're saying, and removing any chance that someone can actually honestly change their minds. that maybe a year ago they felt a certain kind of way about Game Pass, and this news with Redfall, maybe they were one of the people that were more excited for Redfall than Starfield. You know, like myself, I was more excited for Redfall than Starfield, and then to see the game released in the state that it released in, maybe they were some of the people that actually signed on to Game Pass for the first party content day and date in the service, and then to see this game released like this in the service, and to hear the same things that we continue to hear from Xbox leadership. We're going to address this. We're going to fix these issues. But like we heard that with Halo Infinite, we heard that about the previous games in the past, and it's like at some point, I think some people honestly just check out. I don't believe it anymore, and that's not discounting. There are people actually out there absolutely jumping on the hate train. What could I get clicks? Let me make a video about this. Let me go, make a space about this. Let me go tweet out, that I'm done. I'm making a video of myself canceling Game Pass, right? There are definitely going to be people out there, but I think that the blanket black and white, they're all frauding. It's all fake.
Oh no, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about the people that was high on it 3 weeks ago, and now
even then, like
the sky's falling.
3 weeks ago, we didn't know Redfall was going to be a 56 on Metacritic right now. It's like people can have the ability the same way you at one point said, I got no interest in that game, and then within a few days changed your mind after a trailer.
Oh, I'm a fraud too. Let's be clear.
I'm just saying, it goes.
At least I can acknowledge that I'm a fraud.
Look, what I'm just saying is that like everybody has the, I'm not going to tell someone is absolutely lying about something, or that they are being false in how they feel.
But I
okay, all right, but I my closing thoughts on all this before I get up out of here, because I got to take my son to baseball practice. I think that we've heard the word, like Phil's words from the interview, and I would say we should always try to hold everybody accountable for what they say. And although I personally don't quite believe anything will change in regards to how the process turns out, I welcome and absolutely hope it does change, and I hope that I'm wrong. But like, if it doesn't change, what happens from here? That's the kind of like thoughts that I have in my mind about things. But yeah, appreciate you guys having me, Parris. Good to hear from you once again.
Brother, tell the fine people where they can find you this
thank
week.
Yous for coming through, Slomo.
All the places they can keep up with all the great things you do, and the video that you made before you get out of here.
You can find me on my channel, Slomo Backslap, as well as with my homie Gaming Forte. We do a podcast called Damage Per Second Podcast. It rotates back and forth. We will also have a YouTube channel for that if you just want to go to the YouTube channel and watch it there. I did drop a video Thursday called The Problem with Xbox. Check it out. Hope if you want. Everyone's not a fan, but it's fine. But about tonight, you can catch me on Scum on One with Dash and Luca. We're gonna have a show at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on her channel as well. Hit the like button if you haven't already. I see the likes have gone up. Hit the subscribe button as well, because Kay Asante and Everborn run a good channel, and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you for checking us out, man. Thanks for being here, Slow. Appreciate you. And while we're transitioning you out, yes, go ahead.
One more thing,
please.
One thing,
please.
Sonic sucks, man.
Wow, Lord. Of course.
And as with the Redfall reveal, we know when you say one more thing, it doesn't really turn out.
It doesn't really matter.
True.
That's right.
Sorry.
Right. Real quick, let me speak to Buck. Buck is in here with another super chat, and it's a $5 super chat, and he says, "Shout out to Parris, been rocking with him since the Uncle Gamer days. Parris, shoot Phil a DM and tell him that you are ready to sign the NDA and do them mock reviews for Xbox games." Yeah. I don't think I would want that job.
You don't think you want that job? I really don't.
Especially considering the fact that
want to do that.
whoever that person doing that mock review is, that man's probably going to get a stern talking to in the next coming days, I suspect, because his work did not produce what we expected it to produce, I suspect.
Can I say one thing? Because this came up earlier, and then even just reminded me of this again, just kind of painting a picture. So, because previous gentleman even just said, you know, talking about people a few weeks ago were super excited about Redfall and all this outrage or whatever.
Yeah.
But going back to the preview time, because I played it early. To provide context to this.
Yeah.
We only got about 90 minutes of hands-on, and basically the vertical slice that we got was that early mission where you go to the house, it's the dollhouse, that mission. That's what we played. And then obviously you could walk around the open world a little bit. And during that, so we played that. It was on PC, it wasn't on console. So I always go into a preview where I'm not worrying about the frame rate, I'm not worrying about the resolution, because it's a preview, it's not the final game, right? But you're getting a general idea of what the game's going to be. So did that, also sat down with the associate creative director, did an interview as well. And people can go pull the receipts on me to hear exactly what I said. But even when I played that, I because it wasn't co-op either, it was only solo, by the way. I'd even said, it seems okay. You know, it seems good. I go, but we did not get to play co-op. And I'm looking forward to what it's going to be like as you get to higher level. I'm thinking higher levels, you're going to get more options of weapons, leveled up weapons, things like that. I want to see how the difficulty is going to be then. Pretty much that's what I said. But the problem with Redfall is what I played in that preview in that first hour, that's the entire game. That's why like myself wind up giving it a 2 out of 5. I'm kind of funny saying it's a bad game because it never scaled up. It basically was just a tutorial for 20 something hours. It never became what you envisioned it would be going off a preview. So I've definitely over the years started to get lessons learned on what I say in a preview versus what I say in a review, because exactly, because things may not necessarily be the same when you get the final product, because you're only looking at a slice of it. You're not seeing the entire thing. So I definitely try to not overhype a preview versus what I'll say in the actual review when you get final code. And I think that's what happened here. I think some people, and I'm not saying names or pointing fingers, but I think some people that went to those preview events got a little too enthusiastic.
They drank a little bit too much of the Kool-Aid, is what you're saying. I get you. Okay. Everborn, what are your thoughts?
Now they're doing tours. Those same people that got very enthusiastic are doing tours trying to regain credibility. But again, they're trying to prove things to people who are not going to take them seriously anyway. So my question is, why do it? But anyway, I mean, look, we are where we are. I'm just not of the belief that, yes, this is a stumble, right? They're in a race and the gun goes off and one person is running, and then yet again, Xbox kind of fumbles right there. I get it.
Yes.
I just wish that we could have contextual conversations and focus, because I don't believe criticism is constructive if it's just sort of ad hominem, if that makes any sense, right? You want to give feedback on this is wrong, this is not acceptable, but let's give it where it is.
This is how we can make it better. Give us a potential way out rather than constant complaining. I do hear you on that.
This is and listen, it's your right to complain. And I'm talking to a very specific group of people, because there are some people who were never sold on the idea and they need to be sold on it, and that's fine. So if this is more evidence for why they're not sold, cool. If you're one of the trolls who take everything out of context, that's fine too, because that's what I expect from you. I'm not telling anybody how to conduct themselves. What I am specifically speaking to is the people who were sure a day ago and fought these fights, and now because of one game, all is lost.
Now let's throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's over. Xbox is done.
Here's the philosophy that I have, be it here in content creation, talking about games, or my real job. If you're going to critical feedback is good. If you're going to be critical about something, also provide a solution at the same time, or don't say anything. because it's easy to point fingers and say, this is bad, that is bad, you're doing that wrong. Okay, what's the solution then? What would you do?
Yep.
I use that throughout my career. Obviously, what I talk about in podcasts, all that stuff. Anytime I'm critical of something, I provide, well, then I didn't like this, so here's what I think you should have done, or here's what I would do moving forward. And what you see online, the discourse online, like the common one, obviously, even Phil said it. Fire Phil Spencer, fire Matt Booty, fire all these people. You know, okay, fire them. Now what? What's the solution?
Just make great games and everything will change.
Yeah.
Okay, but who's making them then if the people that aren't in place do? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's easy to just say get rid of who's there, but then who are you replacing them with?
Yep.
There has to be a solution.
This is the thing. I think in today's world, right, a lot of people's answer to the question that you just posed, they're just going to say, do what Sony and Nintendo does. And that is not really the answer for Xbox, right? Now, do they need to ship quality? Absolutely. Can a Redfall happen again? It better not.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Just simply saying do what Sony does is not the right answer for them, and I don't even think it's the right answer for us. Right? Yes, we want the quality, but we don't. I think Phil's right when he says they're not trying to be a better green version of the blue box.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They got to do what they're gonna do. They have obligations to ship quality. Yes, that's table stakes. But in terms of people wanting ammo for the war, I don't think that that's productive or constructive criticism to say just do what the other guys do.
So
I don't know, but that's me.
Before we get out of here, right? Let me add one last bit into this, because of course we did get the showcase announcement, right? Showcase is coming out. Showcase, not the showcase, just showcase. Xbox Game Showcase coming out June 11th. Looks to be exciting. Looks to be entertaining. Looks like they're gonna have, as we've come to expect it, a standard showcase plus the Starfield Direct, and then they'll have an extended showcase after that. First and foremost, even though I'm sure the man will probably not give me any nugget of information once I ask him about this, I still will ask anyway because he's here with us. Do we have any information from you, Mr. Parris Lilly, about the extended showcase? Will we be seeing you on stage once again, sir?
Huh?
Exactly. He could tell you, but he'd have to kill you.
But he'd have to kill you. So
No, I'm joking. No, I will not be on stage.
You will not be on stage. Okay. Oh, that's
You know what? Hold on a minute. Paris, I don't believe you. But please, go ahead.
Here you go. So if you were going to be on stage, would you be able to tell us?
No.
There you go. So that's neither here nor there. Absolutely. So before we get out of here, because we've been rounding in the negativity for far too long, but we do have obviously a showcase coming out. We do have an extended showcase coming out, and even a Starfield Direct. Going down the horn, I think I'll start with you, Parris. What do you want to see? What do you expect to see? As we were talking, I was throwing some games on there. There's still games like Fable out there. There's still games like Avowed out there, Everwild out there. There's still a lot that we want to see that they haven't actually shown us yet. Do you expect to see many of those still, or are we getting new ones? I know you asked Phil a bit of that, and he was a bit, he did a bit of the moving and shaking with that question. What do you expect to see, sir?
Well, take Starfield out of it because we know
he has
that
his own show.
That's right. We're getting the Direct.
That's right. Yeah.
Hellblade 2 with a date for this year.
Okay, so you expect a date this year for Hellblade 2?
Yes, I do. I'm thinking November because I think Forza is going to be in October.
So are we setting ourselves up with Hellblade? Because I hear a lot of us are saying, and I'm saying it too.
That is a prevailing narrative.
But are we setting ourselves up for failure, and then we're going to be mad if it doesn't come out this year?
I won't be mad, but here's the thing with that. Why I'm saying it is time. It is the first thing that we saw for the Xbox Series X in 2019. Yep. It's time.
And technically, it would be one of the first actual series console games that was built in the middle, like for the console after this purchase. None of the, they were building it later, but now it's first party. No, this was incubated by them. So this should show a lot of different things that we haven't seen from other games.
Yes, and so yeah, going back to your point, I do think that's this year with a date. Forza October, obviously with a date. Replace, which is just a personal one for me. I'm looking forward to that. We should be getting a date for that this year, and I'm kind of thinking summer. I think it's going to come sooner rather than later.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I do think we will see Joanna Dark. I do think we'll see Avowed.
Okay.
Those are probably 2024 or beyond, so maybe no dates or anything on them. My own personal pet peeve, explain to me what the hell is Everwild. That's all. You don't have to release it this year or next year, but just
tell us what it is.
What it is.
What is it actually?
I'm not so sure we see Fable. I won't hold my breath on that one. I think that's further out than we can expect. Then a couple surprises. Maybe, I keep bringing up In Exile. Maybe we finally see what In Exile is working on. Some of the Compulsion games, some of these other studios.
To your point about Everwild, see, my pet peeve, what I want to see, just show me Compulsion's game. Tell me it's coming out in 2028. I don't care. Just show it to me, please. I need to see it at this point.
I think probably doesn't close the show, but I think we see what Certain Infinity is working on for Halo.
Project Tatanka, interesting.
That would be, because Halo. I don't mean to tangent off on this. Halo Infinite is actually in a pretty good spot right now, but no one talks about it anymore. Again, because of perception and the lack of content and all that.
So that you're talking to what do you call it? Single player, beginning, middle, and end gamers. So to me specifically, Halo is dead. It's dead, I tell you, dead. They mothballed their hero, my hero. Right? All you get now is multiplayer. I do not see a Master Chief-led story anywhere, and there's no foreseeable future where we see that they will be coming out. So to me, that's a huge disappointment.
I wouldn't agree with that.
Okay.
Halo, Master Chief and Cortana is way too important to the overall brand of Xbox to completely mothball that. And I get, obviously there were some missteps with Infinite.
Show me I'm wrong, baby. Please bring them back to life.
This is why I'm saying, I've said it a million times. Hey, and it'll probably be a different name now, but Halo Infinite ODST.
Yeah,
that's all that Certain Infinity needs to be working on. Please. Drop that thing in there.
Yes.
I'm good for the short term, but to your point about single player Halo, I would imagine we see Master Chief again within the next two years.
Okay,
that's just my own personal speculation, but we'll obviously see.
So what do they end the show with then, sir? In your estimation, what did they? One more thing, kill the show out. Is it a new IP we haven't seen before? Oh, I see some folks in the chat asking maybe we see Kojima's game.
Well, if you notice the wording in there, they talked about cloud gaming. So I kind of think we might get a little hint towards that. I wouldn't be surprised if they close the show with Joanna Dark. That's how I'm kind of leaning. I'm leaning towards something we already know about to close the show, but now we're actually seeing some gameplay from it.
Interesting.
So I think Perfect Dark would be a good one for that. I will tell you my wish list thing, which would make me very, very happy if we were to see this at the showcase, and that would be Banjo-Kazooie returning. I've been waiting on that for years. You're on Mr. It's way past time.
Shout out to Mr. Boomstick XL, who will not let
he is on my
die.
train. Hey, he's on my trade. I ain't on his trade. But that to me, that is such a layup for them that they don't have a mascot. They don't have a true platforming mascot that easily can be Banjo-Kazooie.
Sure.
And the fact that they haven't done it.
Oh, stop it. Here we go. Here we go.
You know what?
I've never his Sonic. Here we go.
I've never been a Sonic guy. Never been.
Oh, look what's happening.
My God! Mute his mic.
That's it. Never did it for me.
Get out of here with that.
Parris, you're gonna have to discuss that on a separate occasion.
Yeah.
Okay, what's so good about a dude running super fast and picking up rings and going to loop-de-loops?
Parris, you're getting ready to go see that Flash movie.
Oh boy,
and you're gonna love it.
But here's the thing. I'm not going to see it for the Flash though.
Oh, I see you.
There you go. Yes. Right. So I would assume, Parris, you are not on team Let's Go by Sega.
No, well, no, but for this reason.
Okay.
It's starting to be too much. I think
the purchases.
If this Activision thing closes, no more publishers.
Whoa,
this can't. Got to slow that down. Now,
to be fair though, I would prefer Sega over Activision, but please continue.
I'm actually with you on that, and that's what I was going to caveat it and say that actually the IPs that Sega has, I would love to see all that stuff in Game Pass for sure, but man, it's too much. There's too much consolidation happening now, and it's so funny, and I don't mean to tangent off of this, but everybody's focused on Microsoft and all the acquisitions they're doing. I'm more worried about Tencent. Like if you're worried about Microsoft getting Activision, I'm worried about Tencent getting Activision and Take-Two and all these other ones. That's the one I'm concerned about. That's why I think some of this publisher consolidation has to slow down. It's too much.
Yeah. No, I do agree with you on that. Now the unfortunate side effect of all this is I haven't said it loudly, but imagine everything that has happened right now with the CMA blocking the deal, which ultimately leads to the deal being blocked wholeheartedly, and then somebody like Tencent comes in and swoops in and buys them, because of course that would be a different equation. I have a feeling that people would be living in regret town a little bit after, if and when that happens. Hopefully that's not the case. Let's see. I see Hargichini in here with a $5 super chat dropping on us. Thank you so much there, Hargeet. He says, Redfall, RedFail, whatever. Game of the year coming out next week. Getting ready for Zelda.
He's not wrong.
He's, and then he drops another $2 super chat in here. Thank you, sir. With another $2 super chat. And he says, I don't think Rare knows what Everwild is. How long have they been trying to figure that out? I hope that by now they have some kind of understanding of what
was 2020 the first time, or was it before that?
I think it was
2019.
Was it 2019?
You're right. It was 2019. Yeah, I felt like it was before that. No, wow. They better know what it is now.
Now, if they don't, that'd be a real big problem, unfortunately. Everborn Saga, how about you, sir? You saw this come out, showcase, after all, with the backdrop of Redfall and Mr. Phil Spencer coming out and doing his mea culpa. What do you expect to see here? What do you want them to see? What will they start with? How will they end it? What are your thoughts?
So one thing that was left off the list so far, I think because there's like a new video, like a recruitment video out for Avalanche games or studios, whatever they call themselves, I think we're going to see Contraband. Right? I don't think that they would be mentioning that up front and center in that recruiting video if they weren't.
With that in mind, Crytek has been shipping around Rise Son of Rome assets left and right. Maybe it's time for that as well.
Oh, I just remembered another one. IO Interactive's working on something too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might be too early to tease it or show it, but they're definitely working on something.
Yep. Well, I feel like you can always show a cutscene, right? Like just because that's how they introduce Fable.
Well, but what if they don't have cutscenes, bro? They don't have cutscenes.
But this is the question I even said to Phil. What's the balance on when you show something versus you go zero dark 30 for the next 3 or 4 years and we don't hear anything? Because that's basically what happened in 2020. We ain't seen nothing from Avowed since 2020.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Perfect Dark since 2020. Like, there's too many things that they showed in 2020 that we've had zero updates on Fable, zero updates on the Outer Worlds 2, things like that. So I'm more of the Todd Howard camp personally. I would rather wait closer to, we know we're ready, now we show it to you, you get it 6 to 9 months later, a year later, versus showing me, like, let's take the Wolverine as an example from PlayStation. They showed us that back in 2020. Hell, when are we going to update on that? At least Spider-Man's coming this year. Wolverine, we know, is probably not till 2024, 2025 at the earliest. So, got to find a balance.
So speaking of like Wolverine and Spider-Man, I've spoken about this before, just looking at being a student of watching the moves that Sony makes, I feel like the day that, maybe the EU blocks the deal next month, or Microsoft says they're going to walk away from it, whatever, because, they got to do some, whatever, they walk away. I think the day after that deal is officially not happening, that is when you hear Sony announce, by the way, we have a showcase and we're going to show you all the things that we would have showed you, but we were trying to pretend that we were weak.
It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Whatever date they have for that showcase has been locked in months ago.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay, because they
There are
just
too many
haven't
moving
done one for
parts.
3 years.
There are too many
No,
moving parts to turn on a dime
I'm just
like
telling
that.
you from the teeny tiny bit that I do know about on the inside, that kind of stuff's planned out way in advance because teams got to get stuff ready. All the vertical slices, demos, CGI trailers, all that work has already been in play, in flux, ready to go. So they have a target date.
Okay, so but so the point sure, right? But the point is, we all suspect that Sony's going to have a showcase this year. I think we can agree on that.
Oh yeah,
It's going to be this month. It's going to be in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
Okay, so Sony does a showcase, and they are probably because of the nature of them not having a proper showcase in a while, they're probably going to have a lot of stuff available to show. And so I say that to say, right now, after the Redfall news, after the whole CMA thing, if Sony's going to come and they're going to bring the goods, this show must bring the goods.
Yeah.
Right? Because that would be terrible if
Nail in the
Sony
coffin
knocks
for
their
Xbox
show
is
out
what
the
you're
park
saying?
yet. Not nail in the coffin, but like I can't do another week on Twitter of these people.
So
crying.
to that point of what you're saying, because I pretty much agree with what you're saying, because here's the truth of what's going to happen. Not literally, but we're seeing Spider-Man 2, and that's going to be on fire. We
Are we
already know
seeing
that.
Wolverine?
See, maybe not, maybe another tease, but the point is, you're gonna get stuff from Insomniac that's gonna be good. They're gonna show Last of Us Factions. You're gonna see that. Maybe whatever Firewalk is working on for their thing, you're gonna get that. There's gonna be surprises from some of because think about it, a lot of their studios have been dark for a while. We don't even know what they're working on. So there could be returning franchises and new IPs that they have at whatever this PlayStation showcase is, and it's going to be strong. They're going to look very strong coming out of that. And if they're doing that before the Xbox showcase, which it looks like that's what's going to happen, then Xbox got to bring it. Period, point blank. They can't half step it at all.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now,
Victor Alistine
though,
in here. 1 second, Everborn. Victor Alistine with a $2 super chat. Also remembering some of the potential games that are coming out on Xbox that they may announce. He's talking about maybe the rumored SEAL Team game about the time traveling. Remember the one that the football player
like
kind of
too soon.
Yeah, it may be a little too
hear
soon,
about
but he kind of dropped that thing, unceremoniously. It might be officially announced at this showcase. Everborn, go ahead. What were you saying?
Official. No. So the thing is, so the show needs to be strong. One thing I want to see from Xbox going forward, and it seems like they're not much into this, but I'd love to see them spend some time and focus on doing vertical slices, because I know they don't want to take away dev teams from working on things, but it is a great way to get people excited, because if you show someone a vertical slice, you're going to try to get as close to that as you can, but
Wasn't
it gives
that the
people
Project Moorcroft on the third party side where they were going to pay them to do vertical slices?
Is that what they were going to do? I mean, it would be great if they
Project
if
Moorcroft.
that's okay. I think that's what they need to do, because then it gives people something to latch on to while they have to wait for a game that may be some time out. That being said, at the show, so we talked about Contraband. We talked about hopefully we can get some more info on Everwild, but we do believe we will see things, or we should see things from Compulsion, and we should see Avowed, and we should get a date on Hellblade. Don't forget Indiana Jones.
True. Yeah.
Right. I think we should hopefully
now, Indiana
see
Jones
from
for, exclusive or not.
I think it'll be exclusive.
Really?
I think
how about you, Parris? What do you think? Exclusive Indiana Jones? Man,
I keep going back and forth on it. I'm kind of in the exclusive side right now, but I can easily see it being multi-platform.
Yep.
But I think a lot. Well, let's keep it a buck. Really, that's up to Lucasfilm Games. Whatever Lucasfilm game wants to do, that's what's going to happen. And look, I'm sure there's some financial considerations that can sway it either way.
Yes.
But that's what it comes down to.
Yes, I agree.
So if it's not exclusive, it should be, and if it's not, it'll like Parris said, it'll probably be a contractual obligation. But since we're speculating, I'm speculating it will be exclusive. I'm thinking that they work that out. Now, another thing is, I don't know if you follow In Exile on Twitter. every time there's some sort of Xbox showcase, the way their Twitter is, you just think that they really move like a proper like first party studio. Like they're all on board doing the jokes. They did the Starfield jokes. They did
they're very good at
Redfall
it.
jokes,
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
I really want to see what they're working on next because I heard, and that's one of those studios that does not miss in terms of those Western RPGs that they do. But I heard they're working on something AAA, and I'd love to see what they have going on. And obviously, I think we're gonna get more info on Stalker and hopefully a date. Because don't forget Stalker 2. Hopefully that's coming out this year. So I think all those games that were announced plus the In Exile and Compulsion game. And what is Double Fine working on right now? I know they're going back to the drawing board, but maybe they have an announcement for what we're gonna get next. That would be interesting.
I'd imagine too early.
Yep.
Just coming off of Psychonauts 2, but yeah, they are ramping up to do something else. And I think Tim Schafer even said they're working on multiple projects, like a smaller one and obviously a bigger one, something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll
Now,
see.
The last thing I'll say, I want to see the Coalition at this show. I don't want to keep hearing about the Coalition is helping that team and helping this team and doing cleanup from people who didn't know how to do Unreal stuff. I want to see what the Coalition is doing.
You know what? That's the tease at the end that you're asking me earlier.
Let's go.
Whatever they're doing for Gears. Tease it.
So
Just a
you think-
logo,
you think
something quick.
Potential Gear 6 teased to close out the show
Yeah, in Unreal 5.
in Unreal 5. Interesting. Okay, that's a good pull.
I think they
like
should give us like one Vista shot of the open
Yeah.
world that Unreal 5 can do, like so in-game stuff. Not really like showing you the game, but like just showing you how detailed the character model is and them looking over a world.
Remember back in 07, or not 07, but it was before that. It was probably 05 or 06 or something like that, when the first time they showed Halo 3.
Yep.
With that kind of tease where it was the whole thing, and then it boom at the end you see Master Chief in all his detail. That's what you do. Something like that.
Yeah, man. Coalition got to come out because they are they never get the credit for it. It's always weird to me. They always ship quality. Like, and I know Gears does need to change just because it feels very similar to how it's always felt. And I understand that. And they do feel a little beholden to their fans. But I feel like they always deliver at the quality level that no one can doubt them. And the fact that we don't talk about them in that way has always been strange to me.
I have a feeling it's because of the fact that they're always talked about within the IP of Gears, which, like you're saying, some people think is long in the tooth and needs to be remodeled or retooled or changed somehow in the gameplay. So because of that, they're given short shrift. This is why I'm a little bit disappointed to hear that their small project that may not have been Gears related got closed, or they moved off of it for one reason or another. I would have loved to see
Too busy helping everybody else.
There you go. You know what I mean? I would have loved to see them put their skills to use on something other than Gears for once, just to see them do something else. But hey, who knows? Maybe we still get to see that at some point. But I do agree with you, Everborn. They deserve more credit than they get. Anything else you guys want to discuss before we go? Go ahead, Everborn.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for Parris for coming, and I know you got to go soon, so let's get you out of here. But this was great. You have been on the list of people we really wanted to get on, so it's kind of dope that you just kind of randomly showed up.
Absolutely.
So that's like off the show bucket list. So thank you a lot for.
So can I give you some inside baseball on that?
Please.
First and foremost, thank you for bringing me up and having me on. We had a great conversation.
Anytime.
But I'm talking to you guys and halfway doing some work stuff at the same time. So I always have YouTube open and channels will pop in, stuff, obviously the algorithm, and you guys popped up. So I was like, let me see what y'all talking about. And that's why I came in, and that's why I was sitting here listening.
See, usually the YouTube algorithms are not doing us any favors. We're hearing that they actually did us a favor this time. Salute to the YouTube algorithm.
Well, I think because my name and just everything that we did this week with Phil and Redfall, that's all my feed is. So I think any mention of that is boom, just bringing stuff up to the top.
Understood. Oh, okay. We have a $5 super chat from JD Gamer. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. He said, "Is it possible that we can Xbox that we can see Xbox be aggressive going into third-party exclusives like in the 360 generation?
I don't
And
think so.
if so,
can I
then
answer-
third-party
can I-
exclusives will we get? Go ahead, Parris. You want?
Yeah, can I answer that? And then I definitely got to take off.
Yeah.
I don't want them to do that. You want to know why? You got 24 studios internally.
Yeah.
Use that. There's your exclusives right there. You don't need third-party exclusives. You got the studios. You have the talent there. And again, this is what we talked about with Phil. It's time. Deliver on that versus chasing that, throwing money at that. Invest in the studios that you have. Don't need that. See, Activision to me is just a Trojan horse. Whatever. If they get it, they get it. Great. If they don't, they don't. Whatever. You have enough studios internally.
Change their internal metrics. It shouldn't change their internal plans. I hear you. I hear you on that.
Yeah. Now, if this was 10 years ago, yes.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have any studios. Now you do. So that would be all I would say on that. But I definitely got to take off. But thank you guys for having me up.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for
This
coming,
is the
man.
outro of the
This
show
was
anyway.
great.
Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully we'll invite you on at some point to have you join the whole show, and we'll do it properly. But thank you so much for
Absolutely.
being here, Parris. This was awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. All right. So that is Parris Lilly, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate him for being here. This is pretty awesome. Oh, let me correct our video feed and whatnot. Here we go. So, Mr. Everborn Saga, before we get out of here, any last words you want to tell the people, or we can get into the outros.
No. Here's my Hail Mary prediction. So Parris thinks Coalition comes at the end. I want to see Coalition at the show. My Hail Mary is they announce that what NetherRealm has been working on, why they haven't announced it, is Killer Instinct versus Mortal Kombat.
Oh, this man. There you go.
That's your one more thing. Boom, bam, Shazam.
Boom, bam, Shazam, he says. All right. Well, you know what? Let's outro this show because I think we have really put it out there. Really great guest that ended up joining us. Go ahead. Yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead.
just about that. I want to
Please.
talk about the third-party thing for 1 second. Here's the thing about those third-party exclusives, right? Microsoft is still running a business, right? And the reason they don't go after those third-party exclusives like they were able to in the 360 days is because it would be way more expensive for them to do it than for Sony to do it, because you would have to pay this studio or publisher enough to make them whole in the fact that they are going to lose all of their sales on PlayStation.
Yeah, because
if
not
they're coming to
cost-effective for
your
them.
platform, they're probably not going to get sales because they will be in Game Pass. And for them, they have to look at that and say, we're going to spend all this money to build up someone else's IP. By the time we do that a few times, we may as well just buy a studio or a publisher.
Yep.
Right. And so that's why. And so they're going a different route where they're focusing on their own IP. I think what we want is for them to just start delivering on their own games. And once they do that, these timed exclusive things won't matter. And people will come to the platform, and you won't care that the other guy has this timed exclusive, that timed exclusive, because every quarter you're getting a AAA game at quality, and that's what they need to deliver on, and that's what I think is what they're thinking is probably the best use of their money. Because by the time you can't keep doing those deals, and the time that it would take you to bring people over to your platform by doing those timed exclusive deals, you'd spend so much money that you'd be losing money every year, basically, just because every deal is going to be a loss leader, right? And you have to beat that into customers' minds, and that in and of itself will take a long time. So you have to say, is it worth it? And this is part of what Phil was talking about. So they have to focus on their own content, their own IP, and make you feel good as an Xbox customer with their high quality AAA content. That will bring people over, and then that will change the market share scale, and then these timed exclusive deals will get cheaper, or at the very least, it'll get more expensive for Sony, so that Sony will think twice before doing them, and then you get all the games that you want. I think that's the route. But anyway.
And in the short term, they have so many IPs and so many studios studios right now anyway that they kind of don't
And I think
need
Slomo said
to
the
do
same
that.
thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Become
Yeah.
more expensive. So
Yeah, they don't need to do that right now. It's something you tap into if you need it, and it looks like right now they have irons in the fire for themselves within their internal ranks that could potentially give you what you're looking for as a consumer. It's just they need to close, and that tends to be the sticking point, and that's why people are Redfall / RedFail upset, because with the Redfall release, the idea that they might not be able to close is becoming more and more a talking point, which I don't agree with, but perception, right? We have Carl Andrews Jr. with a $2 super chat saying the network is pissed. Y'all are still alive. I guess the network is fluctuating. I appreciate the update. It looks pretty decent for us. If there are any technical issues, please let us know. But yes, no one's gonna shut us down. But this will be our last super chat for the day, and we'll get into the outros and get out of here. No one but us.
We gotta go.
That's right, because we have to be out. But we have JD Gamer with a $10 super chat to close us out. He says, I think Xbox's internal review studio needs another layer, meaning the gold seal review crew. No games get released without them going over it, with the exception of an 80+ meta score. Yeah, not every game would be allowed to do that, right? Because if you get into a place where you review it and it's not hitting that mark, then you'd have to go back in the lab and give them 6 more months. That may lead to a lot of delays, right? But there has to be some kind of check-in process. I do agree by and large that there has to be some check-in process during the course of development, so that you don't wait until you hit that last part and then you go, what's the review? Oh, it's 60? Oh crap, I guess we're gonna have to delay this and fix it. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be more of a constant flow of communication with the development team, so you don't get too far down that line, right? So I hope that Grumpy Phil that we saw this week really does lead to action, rather than just talking about, hey, mea culpa, we're going to do better, because we've heard it already before. Mr. Everborn Saga, we're in our outro phase. Thank you once again for always for joining me and doing this podcast with me, having great guests on this time. Again, we weren't able to have the Iron Lord's his own Lord Addict join us because life reasons, but we appreciate him for agreeing to be on, and I'm sure we'll be able to reschedule him. Not to be outdone, we appreciate the man Slomo Backslap and Parris Lilly himself for joining us. Everborn Saga, tell us where we can find you, what we can keep up with your ongoings on the internet.
You can find me at Everborn Saga everywhere, but where you're going to find me today is working on my game, because I just got this new camera asset from the Unity asset store that I'm trying to integrate into the game. It's so cool, saves me a lot of the work, makes the game feel a lot smoother. You'll see it soon. Maybe we'll do a demo of it next week if I can get it working. But yeah, I'm gonna be, you may see me less in the Twitter streets a little bit, because I got to get focused on getting out Ariel's Adventure Chapter 2 and also getting these games shipped. I'm over here like Xbox with the failing to start. But anyway, hopefully we won't stumble out the gate like Redfall. But Everborn Saga everywhere. You can find me, and I want to start doing some devlogs just to show people what it is and how you can start making some of these games. So we'll see. I got to get out of my own way with doing that. So soon, Everborn Saga everywhere. Thank you, everybody. Hit the like button. We only 161 likes, and we had 225 people in here, and we got Slomo and the one and only Parris Lilly in here to talk about the interview that was heard around the world. Come on, you can do better than this, people. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for being here. For myself, Mr. Parris Lilly, Mr. Slomo Backslap, Everborn Saga. We have other things we want to talk about. Come back next week. There'll be a lot more conversation. Let's just say there's some games that are taking up our time that, they're bringing us to tears. We'll just say that. But until next week, it's been fun. We always enjoy having these conversations. It's always the crown of my week to be able to chat with all these fine folks and have you guys in the chat, and we're talking about these games. But it'll be good to get more games under our belt. There are more games coming this week, so looking forward to having more conversations with everybody. But until next week, we hope y'all continue to have fun playing your games, and leave the Twitter drama to Twitter. Play your games, ladies and gentlemen. Play your games, and we'll see y'all next week. Goodbye, everybody.